where we looked at his account over on Blue Sky because he's an industry analyst. He works with Circana LLC and does a lot of industry analysis. And just to, I want to show you a little something in this because it is really interesting. Hazardor Gaming clipped this over on X, which I appreciate because I don't have a Blue Sky. I have no idea what's going on over there. But he clipped this and showed it. Matt said, pulling together our huge Q2 games market dynamics report, which includes this chart, which I'm about to show you, among, like, frankly, too many others. And it just kind of stared at this one for a bit. Wild times in the console market these days. Imagine showing this list to someone in 2015. What is this list that he's mentioning? It is a list of the top 10 best-selling games on PlayStation platforms, physical and full digital from digital data sharing publishers with the Digital Leader panel, ranked in dollar sales, reporting from April 6th through July 5th. Okay. And of the top 10 sellers on all of PlayStation for Q2, an entire quarter, 6 of them are published by Microsoft, which is crazy.
Indiana Jones. Yeah, all good games.
Horizon 5 in the #1 spot. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
What is MLB the show?
MLB the show. That's Sony officially.
MLB the show.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
What the fuck?
Microsoft. Doom: The Dark Ages. Microsoft. Indiana Jones. Microsoft. Minecraft. Microsoft. AC Shadows, which in the previous quarter was #3 behind.
Is it? Is it exclusive Sony?
Call of Duty and Monster Hunter, I think it was behind. Or MLB and Monster Hunter. That's what it was. Dude, Monster Hunter has fallen off the list completely, but MLB The Show was #2 last quarter, and AC Shadows was #3, so Monster Hunter was #1, but yeah, it's completely fallen off the list now. AC Shadows still in #8 from Ubisoft, of course, and then GTA 5, because of course it is, still on top 10 sales list. What, 12 years after the fact? It's still on the list, and WWE 2K25 is.
I just asked Grok what game has been released on the second quarter, and basically there are no games from Sony, from the first party studios of Sony. You know, Naughty Dog, Santa Monica, Insomniacs. Yeah, but there's no sales from Sony games because there are no Sony games really. However, there are mention of Sony still stated on later. There's Ghost of Yoti. That's trending too, but those don't fall in the second quarter, right? Let me search that. Trending too when it was released. 26th of June. No, actually, yeah, it can be considered on the second quarter because second quarter means April to June. How many copies have sold? Or that's trending too. What was the list here? Yeah, I mean, it's just a new release, no? So 600, almost 700,000 copies. And it's not even a million. It's too early. Yeah, you can't compete with Doom, Call of Duty, Elder Scrolls that have been released like months ago. You know. It's crazy that Minecraft and Grand Theft Auto is still on this list. That is crazy. Yeah, yeah.
2K25
Makes sense. That's no game.
is
Simple.
number 10. I think he's right. If you showed this list to somebody back at the end of the last generation, I think they would have called you a damned liar. I don't think anybody would have believed you.
I don't know.
It is just frankly insane that they are literally the majority of the top 10 sales list on PlayStation. And PlayStation currently only has one game in that list, MLB The Show. Now, of course, PlayStation's production strategy has been very, very different from Microsoft. And, Microsoft has spent a lot of money to get to where they are right now. I mean, like Doom and Indiana Jones, those two games alone, and Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. So I guess these three games are all tied to the ZeniMax purchase. ZeniMax, which owns Bethesda Softworks and BGS and id and all of those. But these three games are tied to a $7.5 billion acquisition. So that, there's a cost to getting on this list.
Another good thing about this list is Elder Scrolls Online is a single player game. Doom is a single player game. Indiana as well. Assassins as well. So basically none of this is a live service game, apart I believe Grand Theft Auto, and maybe Minecraft. So shout out to that, especially coming from Microsoft, which the first party was a big thing for Sony.
For sure, by having those.
Still is.
Of course, like Call of Duty is tied to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, which is a $70 billion acquisition. So it's not like they just popped up here casually. I mean, they spent a lot of money to get these IP and get these games. But still, the cross-platform strategy is without a doubt generating a lot of revenue. A lot of people thought that Microsoft would bring these games to PlayStation, sell a few copies, but they kind of, the faulty premise for years was that if you have your games exclusive to your console, anybody who's interested in those games will move over to your console and buy a console. If you want what would be an example, Spider-Man game, you go,
those times are over.
If you see a really cool Doom game that's exclusive to Xbox, you'll go and buy an Xbox. But that hasn't been borne out in the data. What seems to be much more clearly the case is that people are attached to the platforms they like because they use that platform and they like it. They like it. So they're entrenched at this point because they've been using a PlayStation for years and years and years. And spoiler alert, not everybody has hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of dollars to buy an additional console and new games on that platform. Like they'll just wait until the game comes to their platform. There were lots of people who were interested in like Forza on PlayStation, demonstrably, who weren't buying Xboxes, but were still interested in the IP. And we're just waiting for it to pop over, and when it popped up, they bought it. Same with Doom, Indiana Jones, all these other ones. And so Microsoft's strategy has been to go and meet the players where they're at, which is not on Xbox hardware. It's definitely not. And it seems to be working decently well. Because even if they're selling 1 million copies on PlayStation or 2 million,
it's still
they sold multiple millions.
Wow, more million copies. Yeah, sure. Still
that's
profits.
Still generating hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue that would otherwise be sitting on the table unclaimed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if they kept it exclusive to Xbox, it's pretty clearly not generating console sales. It's not generating.
It doesn't matter for them.
Signups. So if PlayStation gamers aren't interested in Game Pass or the console, okay. Are you interested in the $70 version of the game? Yes, here you go. That seems to be a decent way of doing it that is clearly going quite well. It really seems to be. So I think this is something that, of course, Sony is also well aware of because they have all of this data from their in-game shops as well. This is not lost on them. And they were just over the weekend, you know, in the news and people talking about it because they're hiring somebody that's going to handle multi-platform strategy for PlayStation as well. And I think it's, without a doubt, this is where everybody's going. You know, it doesn't mean that they're going to bring, like, PlayStation's going to bring their games day one to every platform. But I think now we're just at the point where the console war has been over for a while. People know what consoles they like. They know the platforms they like. If you're a PC gamer, you're a PC gamer. If you're a PlayStation gamer, you're a PlayStation gamer.
I still believe that the console war is still not over. Because, for example, the release of Ghost of Yoti, you know, it was released. It wasn't released on Microsoft console, you know. It was released on Steam and PlayStation, if I remember right. Let me quickly Google it. Actually, only PlayStation. What? Is not on Steam? No way. Release platforms. Exclusively on PlayStation 5. So, see? I mean, it will eventually come in on Steam and Microsoft in 1 year or 2 years, but there's still like a sense of exclusivity, you know? Exclusivity. So it still makes sense for them to sell console because of that.
Gamer. If you're an Xbox gamer, you're an Xbox gamer. People know what they like, and they're entrenched there. There's not going to be a lot of wiggle room. You know, it's not 2005, it's not 2006 anymore. People aren't debating whether to get a 360 or a PlayStation 3. Like, they're pretty well entrenched where they want to be. And as a result, you just got to bring the games to wherever they're at, and people will buy them in droves. So I think, you know, we pretty clearly are at the end of the age of exclusivity. They still very well could have the game exclusive for 6 months or for 12 months or whatever it may be. Like, I would be very surprised if
in my opinion, this is still a not take.
Launches for like The Last of Us Part 3 or Uncharted 5.
Please
or
no.
It is. I'd be very surprised if they did day one launches on PC, for example, with those.
Yeah, they won't. They will never.
And I've said this for like a year at this point. Unless they have their own launcher, I could totally.
Unless
PlayStation has their own launcher on PC to have trophies.
Please no.
Officially supported.
Output they would never.
It launches day one on their launcher, and then it comes to Steam like 6 months later. I could totally see them doing that.
Please,
there was some data mining that happened like 6 months ago, where people thought they were finding some remnants and hints to that effect. And I think if they were to do that, that would make a lot of sense. And then they'd be like, yeah, well, if you don't like the PlayStation launcher, just wait 6 months and then buy it on Steam. And then you pay the 30% cut to Steam at that point. But if you want to play it right now, you can on PC. You just have to play it on our platform where we don't pay 30% to Steam. Sure. I think they very well could try that. I don't personally think that's a great idea. I think we saw how much PC gamers melted down when you tried to require them to sign in a PlayStation account. Can you imagine if it was an exclusive launcher? It could get messy. I mean, there's a reason why every major publisher nowadays has gotten rid of their own launcher and gone back to Steam. I mean, even Ubisoft brought AC Shadows to Steam day one, which was pretty bold.
But Ubisoft is still running with that.
Had their own launcher at one point for Fallout 76 because they didn't want to pay Steam.
Ubisoft hasn't got rid of it.
Microsoft got away with that. I mean, did they get away with it? Because that cost them so much money in repairs. Like, my uncle, I think, went through like 3 or 4 Xbox 360s because of that. And he would send it back and get sent a new one. Like, it was a huge scandal.
That period was crazy.
But, I mean, I think they lost a lot of money on that, having to juggle all of that crap. Let's see. I still regret buying SimCity 2013 EA Origin. Now it's gone. Dude, Origin. What a terrible launcher. Oh, man. Is Satya the final boss of video game exclusivity? I don't think it's Satya. I think it's Hiroki Totoki. I mean, or I guess maybe one of the Nintendo guys. The Nintendo guys, I don't think are ever doing anything with cross-platform stuff. I don't think they're interested at all.
Never say ever.
Maybe they are.
Never say ever.
They are. Yeah, we went through like 5. Yeah, dude.
And I was
They bore the cost, replaced the systems, no questions asked. Yes, it was bad, but they owned up to it. Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm like, they handled a really sucky situation as best you could, I guess. Shouldn't have happened ever, sure.
The Nintendo community
But
will explode if that happened.
I think they handled it decently well, and I think it cost them a lot of money. Let's see. At the cost of all those Microsoft layoffs, sadly. This is at the cost of Microsoft layoffs? I mean, I would submit that the layoffs were going to happen regardless. And,
yep.
I mean, you can look back over the last like 10 years at the end of their fiscal year. Like every year, Microsoft does a huge round of layoffs.
Yeah, they do.
It's just what they do.
For the quarter
so I don't think
thingy.
It's going to change whether or not these games were on the list or not. It's just how Microsoft is. But anyway, going back to this, it is absolutely crazy that 6 of the top 10 games on PlayStation for this quarter, not just a week, not just a month, for the entire quarter, were all Microsoft. Sony only has 1 game on the list, but this is they've wasted so much time, so much dev time, so many resources on this live service push.
Yes,
it's just been an absolute dumpster fire. And you know,
I'm glad.
I do love saying "I told you so," so I will say it again. But with Jim Ryan, I remember back in 2020, I made a couple videos where I said, I don't think Jim Ryan's a gamer. I think he's a corpo bigwig sitting in his ivory tower. I get none of the magic from him that I got from Sean Layden. Like, Sean Layden instilled confidence. He understood gamers and gaming. I think he has a vision. I think he knows what he's doing. Jim Ryan was the opposite of all of that. All of that. And I think he was an unmitigated disaster. Like, just an unmitigated disaster for PlayStation. Yeah, the PS5 sold well, but I think they've wasted 5 years of dev time and like at least $4 to $5 billion on nonsense that has gone nowhere.
True.
Like, it really is unbelievable how much time and money was wasted on that. And, you know, perhaps Herman is a part of that equation as well. But absolutely crazy to see that list, but it seems to be the case, seems to be true. Seems to be real. So we'll see what PlayStation's got. They've got a lot in the works, which is our next segment, looking at what games their various studios are working on. But they need to start revving it up, because I feel like we're already over halfway through this generation. I mean, just to put this in perspective, okay? Just to round out this segment. The PS4 launches in 2013. Same with the Xbox One. 2013. It takes 7 years, okay, just 7, to get the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. 7 years from the launch of the PS5 era would be like late 2027, which is in 2 years, which means we are already approaching the end of the generation. Like, we are already pretty close to the end of everything. Everything's over. Like, this generation has flown by, and I still feel like we have gotten some phenomenal games. Don't get me wrong. We got Baldur's Gate. We got freaking KCD2.
Nothing really exclusive to console.
But I feel like compared to the last generation, where we had these behemoth companies, especially PlayStation was at the top of the game, and putting out consistent bangers and hits and new IP and stuff, reboots like God of War 2018, and we've got none of that. Like, at this point in the generation, last time, this year, God of War 2018 would be coming out. We would have had 2 years of trailers for The Last of Us Part 2. We would have gotten things like Bloodborne, Uncharted 4. It's just Spider-Man.
Oof.
Which I think was Spider-Man 2019 or 17. I always mix it up. Days Gone would have gotten that 2019, so like next year, next spring or summer. Detroit Become Human. Red Dead 2 would have been out this year. Yeah. It's just people, I think it's because of the dark times in 2020, it all kind of blurs together. But seriously, we are very late in this generation. The equivalent year for the PS4 was 2018. That's where
production timing is getting longer and longer.
To rev down because studios were starting to wait for the next gen.
So well.
Realistically, could be in a spot where like next year, late next year, you start to hear discussions of studios holding their games back for the next gen. And I'm sure they're going to get word. Maybe they push the next gen to 2028 or 2029. You never know. They might honestly do that. Probably they do. But that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. I think most likely what we see is the next gen kicks off in 2028. And I think that you'll see some cross-generational games. Like I think Elder Scrolls 6, for example, is going to be cross-gen. I think it's going to be for the series consoles, for PS5, and then they're also going to have it for PlayStation 6 and whatever the next Xbox is. I think that's what they'll do. And I don't think it's a bad strategy, frankly.
No, honestly.
I think that's probably what they're going to do. But yeah, this generation, I feel, has largely been disappointing from the point of view of like PlayStation Studios especially. They've really just let it go and be wasted. But we've had some amazing games in the meantime.
Still waiting for these amazing games.
He took my thing.
Honestly.
Red flag.
16 times the detail.
Times the details.
Okay, so just in the previous segment, we were talking a lot about PlayStation. We looked at the chart from Matt Piscatella that showed 6 of the top 10 selling games in Q2 were Microsoft titles. And we talked about the end of the generation, all that stuff. But I think really the main takeaway is that PlayStation has been pretty absent for a while. I mean, on that Q2 list, the only Sony game on that list was MLB The Show. The other 9 games were from Take-Two, Ubisoft, and Microsoft. Literally dominated by everybody else other than PlayStation, and that's on their own platform. So they've got a lot of studios in the works. We know that they're working on a bunch of stuff. Some of it more exciting than others. You know, big mysterious games from Naughty Dog. They're working on Intergalactic, but then they're also working on another game that very well could be a new Uncharted.
Please,
we know that Sony Santa Monica's working on something. We know that Cory Barlog's working on something over there as well. We know that Insomniac is working on probably Wolverine. We know Fair Games. Sorry. Fair Game $ is coming as well. So there's a bunch of big ones. The Horizon Online game. But it's funny that we were talking about this at this time because IGN, the behemoths themselves, 19 million subscribers, booyakasha, they just put out a video recapping the state of every PlayStation Studio Summer 2025 update. And I want to hear this because if they have actually done their homework and have some updates on what every studio is working on, I'm here for it because it's easy to forget and get them mixed up because we've had cancellations and all sorts of stuff. Like Blue Point just had their game canceled. They were working on, like, I believe, a God of War live service game.
God of War live service, please.
Live service game
no.
Canceled, so there's a lot of crap going on.
Sure.
Right now. But let's see.
We're over halfway through 2025 already, which means it's time to check in on all of Sony's PlayStation studios to see what they're making and what games are coming to your PS5 in the months and years to come. While the console has received some great exclusives in 2025, including the critically acclaimed Death Stranding 2, none of Sony's first-party studios have released a game this calendar year, aside from the annual inevitability that is MLB The Show. So surely that means plenty of PlayStation studios have games coming out soon, or at the very least have secrets up their sleeves, right? Well, that's exactly what...
Secrets being a fun word. Because Horizon has 2 big live service games coming probably in the next 18 months together. They've got the Guerrilla Games one, and then they have another one from NCSoft that was rumored to have been canceled, but then it later came out that the project that was canceled wasn't actually the Horizon game from NCSoft, so it looks like it actually is still in production. It's a whole thing. Marathon, of course, is coming as well. It's actually possible. Yeah, there's 2 of them. It's why it's so funny that there was that lawsuit filed the other day towards that Tencent Horizon ripoff. Because the reporting and what was said in the lawsuit was that the executives from Tencent came to Sony asking basically, can we get this licensed as a Horizon game and just do Horizon in Asia? And we'll run it, you get a royalty from it, we'll just license it through the Horizon IP. And I think they built it as a Horizon game. And they were basically going to ask forgiveness before asking permission, you know? Like, we're going to ask forgiveness because we already made the game as a Horizon game. And they'll say yes, and then we'll just put the Horizon logo on it. Sony said no, however, because they already have 2 massive live service games in the works in the Horizon franchise. And I think
they don't want to lose.
3 would be too much. I would argue 2 might be too much. Dare I say 1, but we'll cross.
And also, if the Asiatic version will not succeed, the other Sony proprietary one would not succeed because they are connected at that point. You know?
Cross that bridge when we come to it.
What we're going to take a look at here. What are the developers behind PlayStation's highly respected library up to now? And how long will it be before we get to both see and play their projects? So let's dig into what each studio is doing and when we can realistically expect to see new games from them.
Yeah. Fair game $sign. Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog's attention is now firmly on Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet, a spacefaring game with retro 80s vibes. After leaving,
I still have huge hope for this game. Even if it's work or whatever, like, you can't save this character with just making her sexy. It's just obnoxious. Like, the personality of it is rubbish, that's why. That's how I think of it. But I'm confident that Naughty Dog can make the next Elden Ring in terms of quality. You know? Not story-wise, maybe, but quality.
the future of The Last of Us HBO show in the hands of Craig Mazin, studio head and creative director Neil Druckmann is now working full steam ahead with his team on the Uncharted Studios' first new series since 2013. But
yes, Neil and Haley Gross, both of them have left the show, which we've talked about before. I don't think that's a good sign for the show when literally everybody who is involved in the original games is bailing right as, like, you would think the show would be picking up steam. They're bailing on it. Like, maybe it is that they're just saying, we want to focus on the game. Maybe that is legitimately all that it means, but I doubt it. I doubt it.
I don't know the story, what he's talking about.
I think that season 3 is going to be a dumpster fire, but I'm here for it.
I must have missed something.
Anyway.
Do what spoiler.
Aside from a cinematic heavy trailer at last year's Game Awards, we've seen very little of this sci-fi story.
Tell me something good.
What we do know is that it follows Jordan A. Munn, a bounty hunter who gets stranded on a planet when on the trail of a criminal syndicate called the Five Aces. It's also rumoured to have a deeper combat system than any previous game.
That's what I'm looking for.
Giving us a tiny glimpse of its lightsaber-esque gameplay. Oh, and the music is being composed by Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. That's never not a good thing. Could this be Sony's big 2026 PS5 game? We can certainly hope, but we would love to see some gameplay before making such assumptions.
True. They've also made a bunch of offhand comments about how, like, Neil says, Elden Ring has been really inspiring to me. I love the idea of, like, asynchronous narratives and storytelling through the environments and through items, like, not just through dialogue, which is typically how Naughty Dog does it. There were leaks about a year ago of people that were familiar with playtesters and developers on the project who said that it's basically The Last of Us Part 2 meets Elden Ring, and that it's going to blow people's minds.
That sounds so good.
I'm intrigued. You know, I'm not one of these doom and gloomers that's like, oh, it looks terrible. Like, I don't think it looks terrible. I just think, like, the trailer gave us basically nothing to work with. I think as a trailer to announce a game, it was a bad trailer. I just think it wasn't particularly good. Didn't tell us, like, anything really. Like, I just don't think it was a great trailer. But historically, Naughty Dog gets better trailers as time goes on. I just want to see gameplay. I want to see what the game actually is. It's a new IP. We literally have no idea.
It would appear that this isn't the only iron Naughty Dog has in the fire, though.
I also think it's really funny that this game came out and people thought that it was I remember watching the live chat when they were revealing this, and there were people asking if this was like a story or a campaign for Concord. That's the same sort of, like, Guardians of the Galaxy. What is it? 80s retro punk flair. Like, people thought, oh, is this the story mode for Concord? And then it's like,
that's so cute.
But I don't know why. Like, all of a sudden, they have all of these games that are kind of reminiscent of each other. It's probably honestly because they watch Guardians of the Galaxy, eat that up, and are like, okay, let's do that. And then it takes 7 years to get a game out the door. So by the time you see it, it's like outdated. But anyway,
it doesn't matter.
It is not unannounced game in development. Could this be?
It is not, because we're still making medieval games. We're still making vampire, zombie. It's just the things that the argument that some things, some genre will it becomes outdated. It's not true. It's just make a good game. That's all you need.
The Last of Us Part 3, Uncharted 5, something completely different. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah, my prediction is that they are working on an Uncharted game. I think it's going to be with Nathan Drake's daughter. I think it's what we saw in that PlayStation commercial that we looked at on stream on Monday. We just did a segment on it. If you've not seen that stream clip, you should check it out. But I think that's what it is. It's probably smaller. It's probably more like Lost Legacy size. But yeah, I think that's what they're doing. I think we're going to get that. That's my prediction. Some people think it's just going to be like an Uncharted 3 remake or remake of the original trilogy or something. Maybe. I think it's going to be something new. That's my guess.
What's next?
Santa Monica Studio released God of War Ragnarok to huge success in
I still haven't played this game.
2022 and followed it up with the surprisingly lengthy 3 Valhalla DLC in December 2023. What's next for the studio remains a mystery, although we do know Cory Barlog, who led development on 2018's God of War, moved on to helm a new project in 2021 after leaving Eric Williams to fill Ragnarok's director seat. Little to nothing is known about that new project, but given it has been in development for a number of years already, it wouldn't be beyond unreasonable to expect to see it revealed this year.
And specifically, people familiar with the project keep saying that it is going quite well. I forget who reported on that. There was some reporter who was like, yeah, I spoke to people working on the project and they said it's going really well, which is kind of refreshing to hear. Like nowadays, you know, you expect you hear gaming news or something and it's like, yep, a bear broke into the office and killed everybody, and then like it flooded, and then you know, we all got gonorrhea at the same time. Like you're just ready for something to be terrible and miserable across the board. So when you hear somebody be like, no, it's going well, it's really nice, honestly. It's quite nice. Schreier said they're working on a known IP, but not God of War. Ooh, you should send me, is that in his Blue Sky or something? I feel like I need to get a Blue Sky account just to follow some of these like gaming journalist guys, because they all deleted their X accounts and are only on Blue Sky. I feel like I need to follow that. If you have a link to that, you should send it to me on the Discord or something so we can see it. Reset era? Oh, when he was talking on Reset era? Okay.
As for a new God of War game, well, we likely can't expect that as quickly. Despite the gap between Ragnarok and its predecessor being only 4 years, the end of Kratos' Norse saga signals a new direction for the series, which
no spoiler,
means it will require a lot more work from the ground up. We can hope, of course, but don't expect to see everyone's favourite angry dad anytime soon. That said, we wouldn't say no to a remake of the original trilogy.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I would take it. I'd take it.
Yeah, people will take it.
I also think if it's a remake of the original trilogy, it would be a remake like probably in the same style and combat style as
the new one,
the new games.
Yeah,
so it'd be totally different.
True.
But I also think like there's a lot of things about the new game or about the old games that I'm not sure you could do nowadays. Like, you know, the Kratos mini game in the bedroom, you know the one I'm talking about?
No.
I'm not sure if modern Sony would do that, you know, but it'd be interesting to see. Who knows?
Insomniac is arguably Sony's most prolific studio, having released either a Spider-Man or Ratchet & Clank game every couple of years for almost a decade now.
Yeah,
its most recent launch was in 2023 with the hugely successful Marvel Spider-Man 2, and so, based on pattern, you'd be forgiven for expecting a new Insomniac game in 2025. But in a worrying sign of the fragile state of the games industry, even a game of Spider-Man 2's magnitude couldn't prevent layoffs from occurring last year. That capped off what turned out to be a doubly damaging couple of months for the developer, following a huge data breach and subsequent theft. The data theft revealed that the studio's highly anticipated Wolverine game is not expected until 2026 at the earliest, but also that a Venom game may arrive before it. Either way, it's highly unlikely Insomniac will be springing any surprise games this year, and after all the studio has gone through recently, I think it's fair to allow it as much of a break as anyone.
Yeah, I mean they are able to pump these games out so freaking fast. It's honestly unbelievable. It's like
it's because the same stuff,
but,
more or less, you know.
Yeah, they've just
same asset,
like it's nothing.
Quite easy.
You're asking, was Spider-Man 2 successful? It sold very well. The problem was never whether Spider-Man 2 would sell well. The problem was that it was so freaking expensive to make that even though it sold really, really well, it didn't make as much money as you would think, you know? Like most games, if they hit 8 million copies sold, you're like, wow, you guys made a crap ton of money. And they're like, oh, well, it cost us so much to make, we made a little bit of money. Or even a good chunk of money, but we didn't make an ocean of money, you know? It's like our expenses were crazy high. It cost $300 million.
But I'm sure the second one will cost less than the first one.
Is even more than that. Because I don't think that 300 million number counted marketing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the long-term, you know,
especially if the first one is successful.
But yeah, it was very expensive, which I think is why some people assume that it wasn't as successful as some of the predecessors. But I would tell you what, like, it's still definitely a game you want to put out. You know, it still made a lot of money. It's just it was so expensive, it kind of blew people's minds. They're like, wait, it was 15, 20 hours long and it cost $300 million to make? What? But that's the nature of the beast, dude. That's the nature of the beast. You know?
Well, they are a good game.
The mouse made money. Oh yeah, I think they get, I forget the exact numbers, but they make like 30% or something, 20-30% or something on every copy sold. Like, the mouse was making
that are massive.
Okay.
How you holding up?
Oh shoot.
Principal Evans called. Man, am I getting expelled?
Sucker Punch. I wonder what they're
Punch
working
is
on.
following up 2020's Ghost of Tsushima with Ghost of Yotei, scheduled for an October 2nd, 2025 release. As showcased in a recent State of Play stream, the standalone sequel takes us to Hokkaido on a revenge quest to deal with the Yotei 6, the murderers of protagonist Atsu's family. With a non-linear quest structure and more varied arsenal, it's looking set to be a true evolution of
Hasn't this been
Tsushima's
released already?
open-world
Wait.
foundations.
Right.
Oh, baby.
Anyway.
I like how they're just like, yep, that's it. It's because got everything you need to know. Yay, AC Shadows. How dare you? Yeah, I'm excited for Ghost of Yotei. It's going to be interesting. Bring it on. Gorilla! It's time! Spoiler, Horizon, and Horizon 2.
Gorilla followed up 2022's Horizon Forbidden West with the Burning Shores DLC 1 year later, as it continued to build out Aloy's story. With the West Coast set sequel ending on a cliffhanger, it's not a stretch to expect the Amsterdam-based studio to be working on the third part of the trilogy next. We wouldn't expect any news on that one soon, however. The development time between Zero Dawn and Forbidden West was 5 years, so we're likely a little while away from seeing Aloy and her metal dinosaur friends again. What were reportedly more like...
What you are seeing now is another masterclass in IGN nonsense. Enhance. What are we doing?
Yeah,
I
but
love the detail in blob. This blob. Look at the detail in that. You also notice how blown out the sand is? Not in the fun way either. I'm pretty sure this is because they're recording with HDR turned on, but they don't know what they're doing, so it converts it to SDR, and when it does that, it crunches the highlights down, and if you don't adjust the color scale properly, then it actually just blows out all of the whites, and sometimes the opposite can happen, and the blacks will also get blown out, which is also what's happening over here, where all the detail in the reeds is also lost, because they've also done that. Like, again, I'm a dude in a basement right now, okay? I'm in my basement talking about video games. I don't have 19 million subs. How am I able to do better than this? I shouldn't be able to, man. I should look at this and they should put me to shame. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, fam? And this is beside the point of, like, it being compressed out the ass.
more bush,
like,
yeah.
the trees should not look like they were drawn onto the screen with crayon. Like, what is happening, dude? They never cease to amaze me. They never cease to amaze me. Gotta love IGN.
Likely to see first is a live service Horizon game that's currently in the works, starring a new cast of characters and a unique stylized look.
It is unique. Oh, it's gonna be It's gonna be a unique reaction. I'll tell you what. It's people are not ready for it. Like that's the thing that I just want to brace people for is that it is early. I mean, the footage that leaked was from a dev build in June of 2020.
June 2020. Okay,
June
so
of 2020. Things could have changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
But typically, the broad strokes are consistent. And the other piece is that this leaked years after that dev build. Okay, what I'm about to show you. So by the time the public saw it and reacted really negatively to it, it was well after that point, probably past the point of no return. So unless they independently chose to redo it and rework it, I just don't see this being different, okay? Like, this is the vision for the New Horizon series.
What? Nah, impossible. No, impossible.
Like, I think if you are interested in Horizon for the art vibe, I think this is like an active turnoff, you know?
Oof.
It's Sea of Thieves, yeah. It looks like Sea of Thieves meets Fortnite meets Saints Row reboot. And I think it's like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Thank you,
but I
bot.
think people who like the vibe of Horizon are not going to respond well to that. Yeah, it looks derivative. Don't like the change in art style. I know this is really, really, really early build, but I doubt they changed the art direction in the meantime. It just looks like Fortnite and Horizon's world. Indifferent in terms of the change. Really going after the Fortnite crowd, huh? Aroused and disappointed. Huh. Yeah, they've said stylized is what they've said repeatedly. Now those hires of stylized artists who had art portfolios that look kind of like Overwatch makes sense. Yep. Yeah, it looks more cartoony, indeed. Thank God they didn't stick with that mobile-ass art style for the characters. I think they did. But we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe they'll drop the trailer soon and we'll be blown away.
$9.99
Maybe.
through Super Chat. That's the new vision for Horizon? Are you sure we can't have Killzone?
No, you're going to get this and you're going to like it. No Killzone for you. No, this is what we get. I just, like, again, I think if you look at this and this is the kind of vibe you like in Horizon, I think that people who like this, what you see on screen, are going to see the trailer for the Horizon multiplayer game and be like, what the hell is this shit? Like,
Probably they're doing that because of performance issues. Because if they do something too realistic or too encrafted, like the single player version of Horizon can't have the same quality in a multiplayer game. This means that if you release an Horizon-like type of game, level of quality, you won't be able good performance. So people will destroy your game because of that. But at the same time, if you have to revert to this bullshit for graphics, you're gonna alienate your core base and hope that you can you can sell the game to a different audience, a Fortnite audience or stuff like that.
I think it's not going to go over too well.
Yeah.
Maybe the Fortnite crowd loves it. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly, Fortnite, because that's the style more or less, you know.
I think they had to change the art style a little bit because this was balanced and built for single player.
That's what I say. That's exactly what I say.
When you go multiplayer, you can't have this level of graphical fidelity. It just doesn't work.
That's the problem.
Every multiplayer game has to tone it down because you're trying to do a lot more stuff in the background besides just the
That's the simple reality of the.
It's if they come out and they lead this off with like with a trailer where they show, I don't even know, the chef is like named Big Mama and she's stirring the pot. It's like, howdy, would you like some Horizon stew? And they pass it, and like, I gotta go make
Jack
a payment on my
donated
student
$10
loans.
through Super
It's
Chat.
gonna go over bad,
Are we
dude.
absolutely sure this isn't another 10-cent ripoff?
This is why they're suing Tencent, because they're worried Tencent's game is gonna cannibalize too much of this. Because again, this game they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on.
Yeah.
Reportedly.
Yeah.
So
That's now the things they say.
They can't afford this to be a flop. Like they need
They
this
can't.
to do well.
Kane donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you guys.
OMG, that's the new Horizon? I swear I popped in and thought you were looking at that Horizon ripoff. Lol, how disappointing. Let's drop Horizon fans and get that Fortnite money.
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, it starts to make sense why Herman might have thought that this was going to do well. It's like, hey, Fortnite has a similar style. Sea of Thieves has a similar style. Let's meld them together and put it in Horizon. Everybody loves Horizon, so it'll be a Star Wars level success, right? I like, there's just, that's the level of complexity we're dealing with.
But my question is, who likes
it's just
that game?
But yeah,
Sea of Thieves.
I
Who
really think
explained that?
this trailer also, the announcement trailer is going to be crucial. Because again, if they lead this in with like the quirky, funny dialogue, trying to be so witty, and then people see those character designs, I swear to God, we will have another
riot
on our hands. The immediate
riot
and mockery that will ensue will destroy any chance the game has of success. If I were consulting them, they don't even have to pay me for this advice, okay? Like, I've consulted on games where I've told the studio, like, do not market it this way.
Do not release it.
So you're thinking about doing that? It's like, no, stop it. It's literally happened. But they don't even have to pay me for this advice, okay? If you try to go quirky, silly, funny, you will be mocked. You will be teased, okay? The art style starts people off already on a bad foot. You know, people will see it and be like, I'm not so sure, guys. This is
not the game I remember.
And if it leads in immediately with like, you know, hi, I'm Aloy McStuffins, and I'm going to go submit my student loan payment. Boop. That's why I got to hunt dinosaurs, because hunting dinosaurs is a tough job, but it's one I can do. I can see the highlight reels now. Streamers react to disastrous Horizon announcement.
There's no way they do something like that.
It will be very funny. And I'm telling you, I will probably make a lot of money off of how terrible it is. Way more than they will. Because technically, you know, if they lose money, I just have to make $1 and I technically made more than they did. But I would like more good games. I don't want them to do that, because that also means a lot of people will lose their jobs and it'll be a disaster. So please, be self-aware. Be aware of what the public will say, and don't do the thing that we all are expecting you to do. Okay? Like, Jesus Christ. It would be, oh man. Again, I hope they don't screw it up. But I'm so braced for this to be a dumpster fire if they frame it poorly. Because, I don't know. I've lost all confidence in their marketing teams. Like, they thought they marketed Concord well, and that, like, those people are
they
the
told
ones
it?
that are going to be marketing this. That's the thing to remember.
Oof.
It's the same corporate marketing team behind Concord less than a year ago will be in charge of this one. So, you know, I don't think they downsized that department that much, you know. Oh, how have I been surviving the end of the world? By working with my friends. Kicking ass and taking names, wearing cool outfits, showing the cosmetics, and even emoting when appropriate. You can see it, can't you? You can see it in your mind's eye. That's why you're saying lol stop, because you know that is a little on the nose. It's like too real. Oh my God.
It is.
We'll stop beating the dead Horizon at this point. We'll stop. We'll stop. In your what? Yeah, your mind's eye. But let's continue on. We know Horizon is being worked on at Guerrilla in the live service, and the NCSoft game is also in production as well.
Perhaps this is something we can hope to see more of sooner rather than later. Although this year, maybe.
Dude, it's so washed out. What are we doing? This is blown out. This is blown out. This is blown out. All of this is blown out. IGN. What are we doing? You have tens upon tens of millions millions of dollars in funding, you have literally no excuse. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I swear to God, like a 12-year-old could render videos more competently. What are we doing? Chat, what are we doing? Chat, what is this? This is what their videos look like, okay? Let me see if I can even do this with the... No, I literally cannot screw up my video, my own face cam, as bad as their footage is screwed up. Even trying, I can't do it this wrong. It's unbelievable. Continuing.
Be a stretch, with Sony perhaps reassessing their live service future following the failure of Concord and the troubles facing Marathon.
Oh my god, I just had flashbacks to how slow all the tank archetypes walked in Concord. Dude, they walked so slowly. This is the sprint speed. Just watch it again. Watch Green Bubble Girl, watch her walk.
Their live service future following the failure of Concord and the troubles.
That's the full
That's sprint.
It was infuriating. You couldn't go anywhere. It was ridiculous.
Facing Marathon.
Housemarque.
Finnish developer Housemarque is following up 2021's Returnal with Saros, another sci-fi action game. Starring Rahul Kohli as Arjun Devraj, players will be taken to a lost off-world colony on the planet Carcosa in order to investigate its mysteries. An evolution of Returnal's roguelike rhythm, it's set to deliver Housemarque's trademark challenging shooter combat when it arrives on PS5 sometime in 2026.
This is Remnant. Looks like Remnant.
Yeah, buddy.
Now, there are a number of PS5 console exclusives on the way that aren't from first-party PlayStation studios. Those include Bungie's Marathon, which has faced a turbulent few months this year due to...
Do they not count it as that? I guess it's independent. It's also not exclusive.
Now there are...
It's not? What?
PlayStation 5 exclusives from non-PlayStation Studios developers. It's also not exclusive, though. What do they mean?
Now, there are a number of PS5 console exclusives on the way that aren't from first-party PlayStation studios. Those include Bungie's Marathon, which has faced a turbulent few months this year due to development controversies surrounding allegedly plagiarized artwork.
Allegedly.
And less than warm reception to its closed
It was
alpha.
confirmed.
As a result, the online shooter, once scheduled for a late 2025 launch, has been delayed indefinitely. One exclusive coming out very soon.
They just move on.
Yep, they have to.
Yeah, it's too bad because, you know, Bungie is a titan of the industry, legends, as it were, but the game is not ready for late 2025. Even before all the art stuff came out, like, all of us who played the alpha were saying, guys, like, it's just not ready. Like, even before all that stuff, set aside the art stuff, just in terms of gameplay, it was not ready. It just wasn't. Like, it had 3 maps that were pretty small. We only got to see 2. They said a 4th map would come in the months after launch, and they said the 2 things that were revolutionary about the game were the ranked mode and that 4th map. They couldn't show us the ranked map because they didn't want to spoil anything, and it came after launch. And the ranked mode, they said they hadn't built yet. Now, I feel like it's weird to say what's revolutionary about your game. This. What? There's nothing back there. No, it's gonna be back there.
With development.
It's just not there yet.
Yeah.
Well, then you can't claim it's revolutionary. If it's not there yet, you don't get to say it's like Luke, what's the coolest thing in your studio? That. The floor? No, the thing that's gonna be there in like 6 months. It's not there yet. That's not how that works, Luke. Like, I'm asking what's in the studio, like in this thing that you've built, what is the coolest thing? Yeah, the thing that's going to be there. Like, it doesn't make sense. That's not how it works. You know? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, the Romeo P stain. Oh, Romeo. It just doesn't work. It just needs more time. I get the vibe that they definitely are being rushed, but anyway.
Soon, however, is Lost Soul Aside, from Chinese studio Altizero Games. Hitting PS5s on August 29th, its development began way back
I'm not a
in
fan of this game.
2014, starting life as a solo development project before broadening out into
Oh yeah,
a team
Soul
effort. An
development.
action game inspired by classics of the genre such as Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, it certainly caught the eye in its most recent trailer. And then we have Phantom Blade Zero, another PS5 console
That
exclusive that
one
we'll highlight
is
here.
Souls
A semi-open
killer.
world samurai bloodfest with Souls-like elements. It certainly doesn't look to be lacking in style.
I have played Phantom Blade Zero a decent chunk.
Yeah.
and I can't go into detail on all of it.
It's
but I will
impressive.
say that it is a very impressive game.
Yes.
Like, and it's evolved as well. So what I played last year was pretty damn good, but maybe needed like a little bit of polish. This year, what's been shown off at S Game this year, what they have is like significantly more polished, significantly sharper, runs flawlessly from everything we've seen. The combat is super tight. The animations are ridiculous. There's a ton of different variability. So for example, in this fight, oh my God, it's so compressed. It's driving me crazy. I have because we're going to look at this later. So I'll pull this up in a separate tab. But this footage you can see a little bit better. But they have all sorts of different weapons as well. Some weapons work better for different types of enemies. Some might allow you to juggle certain combos better. Some might break poise or basically their defense faster. Others might have more stun and interrupt their attacks. There's a ton of complexity here. And it's also like it works more like a traditional action game than it does, you know, like a Soulsborne. I think people see this footage and they think it's going to play like a Soulsborne adjacent game, you know, basic
I don't think so, but that's the beauty of it. It's like a Sekiro-ish.
Like it does not play like that at all. Not in a bad way, just very, very differently. They also have added a new crushing, like lethal, I think is what they call it, difficulty mode, which is absolutely outrageous and extremely challenging and requires like perfection. It's very cool.
Nice.
So this is one I'm very excited for. This is one to keep an eye on. I'm telling you what, it's gonna be really cool. It's genuinely very, very impressive.
Well,
so
when is gonna be the reason?
It's
July 12th. This game, I'm telling you now, this is gonna be the game of the year. It's gonna be game of the year, for sure.
Well, it's genuinely very, very impressive. So keep an eye
For
on
sure.
Phantom Blade for sure. That's that could be a surprise pop off. It's really, really good. Really, really good. Yeah, the reason we bring up the Souls-like thing is because it's a very common thing that's brought up in the comments. I know some people who are familiar with Phantom Blade Zero, like, yeah, it's not a Soulsborne. Like, why do people keep saying that? The devs have to keep saying it because so many people think it is. Like when I talked to the devs, like even last year and then even this year when I've talked to them, they're like, yeah, just, I mean, it's not a Souls-like. Just, you know, remember that when you play. I was like, I know, it's not.
Define not.
A lot of people apparently on forums,
I don't know.
lot of people on their social media are asking if it plays like that, and it doesn't. So just trying to be very clear. Action equals Soulsborne to people these days? Yeah, I think so. I think people see swords and they're like, oh, so Soulsborne.
Exclusive that we'll highlight here. A semi-open world samurai bloodfest with Souls-like elements. It certainly doesn't look to be
Souls-like elements. This is part of the reason the confusion exists, but I think maybe he means in terms of difficulty, like it's hard. It's too bad that people think hard game, therefore Souls-like. It's like there's a lot more to it than that, but
lacking in style. We
I
can
don't
see
agree,
more
but
of it later this year, but with no release date set as of yet, we won't expect to be playing it anytime soon.
Haven.
Originally due for release this year, Haven Studios' multiplayer shooter Fair Games is now expected in the spring of 2026. It's not been smooth sailing for another of Sony's planned live service offerings, with Jade Raymond, who only founded the studio in 2021, leaving the project earlier this year. Work is still ongoing on the online heist game though, with little to nothing seen of it since the 2023 cinematic trailer reveal. We're left waiting to see what its gameplay actually looks like.
Specifically what happened, if I recall the reporting correctly, was there were reports that there was a play test that happened and that the feedback from the play test was not very good. And in the days that followed that feedback, Jade Raymond left the studio. And Jade had founded it.
Not a big fan for this game.
It doesn't take a genius to put two and two together. That it's not a good sign when there's a playtest, people are finally playing your game, the feedback comes back, and the founder, the head honcho, is booted out. And some of the verbiage was weird because PlayStation said we informed staff, or the reporting said PlayStation leadership informed staff of Jade's departure, or it was like Haven leadership informed staff of Haven, or of Jade's departure from Haven at the, you know, on Friday morning or Monday morning or something. Which you'd think if she was like stepping down or retiring or moving to a different job, she would just have given notice and told people, hey, I'm going to leave in a week or two. Hearing that like Monday morning came around and she was just not in the building, that sounds like a firing. You know, like that doesn't sound like we just decided to go our separate ways. That doesn't sound super friendly. Am I wrong? Am I weird? Like, it doesn't sound fun. Anytime I've ever worked somewhere where somebody's leaving, they always like give a notice, and then you have some time to like get. Hell, even at my gym, one of the trainers is leaving on Friday, and for like a week and a half, she's been telling people I'm headed out. Like, come to my last class, and you know, we can train together before I leave and all that. I get the vibe that she probably was booted out. I gotta ask, what does Jade Raymond actually do? Genuinely want to know. Jade, I mean, at this point, I think her role was as a studio leader in an executive producer role, most likely. I don't think she was the game director or anything, but she was in charge of like keeping the overall vision consistent. She was in charge of like the budgets, the timeline. She's in charge of like the business side of all of it. An important person in the pipeline for sure. Very, very high up. But also when you're that high up and you're one of the executives, it means the decisions to go in certain directions land on your shoulders. So if the feedback from that playtest, for example, if the feedback was something like, you know, to the extent of maybe I like, I'm trying to think what you could even say. Maybe the feedback came back and they were like, yeah, I just found it really cringy. I found it really cringy. I really hated a lot of the characters. I don't like the gameplay. Like, they just have nothing nice to say. And all of those decisions, like the vibe, the gameplay archetype and systems, all of that really goes back to Jade, who thought that all was a good idea. It's on her shoulders. It's her fault. Now, I don't know what firing her like fixes. I don't know what solution that offers. Maybe it's like dysfunctional. Maybe I don't know. But I don't see what that fixes. But maybe it's also that she just got a big fat check when the studio was founded and co-founded with Sony, and she just decided, okay, this is not going to go well. I'm out. And she just quit out of nowhere. Who knows? Maybe she just... Honestly, if I had worked on something for 5 years, we finally show it to the world after initially, you know, a lot of work. It's received overwhelmingly negative in the case of this cinematic trailer. And then they're like, okay, we're going to work on it for a year or two. They work on it, and then they do a play test to show it to players, like, this will convince them. And that comes back negative. At that point, I might go, I am having a mental breakdown. I'm losing my mind, and I might just leave. Like, who knows? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just genuinely depressing, and it's like, I can't do this. You never know. I wouldn't blame anybody for that. If you got to protect your mental health by stepping away, that's what you got to do. I'd respect it.
Bend has been pretty much quiet since the release of Days Gone way back in 2019, aside from giving us a remaster a couple of months back. But in 2022, a few slivers of detail were revealed about what the Oregon studio was currently working on. It shared that its new game will build upon the open world systems of Days Gone, but won't be announced until the time is right. Apart from knowing it won't be a continuation of Deacon St. John's story, we really know nothing. And it's been a rocky year for the developer so far, with reports that a live service game it had been working on had been scrapped by Sony, as well as layoffs impacting 30% of the team as it transitions to its next project. Whether this new game the reduced headcount is working on has anything to do with those details revealed 3 years ago, or if the studio is starting again from scratch is unknown.
My understanding, and I think the common understanding, is that what was said 3 years ago was that the game they were working on, which ended up being the live service game, was building on the open world stuff of Days Gone. That live service game has been canceled and shut down, and they also fired a third of the studio that was no longer needed, because if you're not gonna, like, if you hired a bunch of people that specialize in like networking code or something, you don't need
move them.
anymore.
In my opinion, you just move them.
Department is tied to like an Overwatch,
But yeah,
mixed with anime style of
I
artwork.
guess.
Be like, hey, our new game is going to be grounded photorealism. Probably need a new art department, you know? So there's stuff like that happens. But my understanding is that that project that they had previously discussed and that was mentioned is gone now, and they're starting over on something else. That's my understanding.
Either way, we wouldn't expect to hear anything soon. Media Molecule spent most of the past decade working on Dreams, the game creation and curation project that was released in 2020.
Did he fail?
As a result
The
of
same giant.
significant layoffs at the studio in 2024, live service for the game has now ended, with MM's current aim being to ensure Dreams transitions into a self-sustaining platform. There has since been no news on what the developer's next project will be.
Tough. Tough.
Team Asobi gave us one of 2024's biggest games with the charmingly creative.
Not biggest. I think it only sold 1 million copies, but I get what you mean. It was like it was well beloved by journalists and industry guys. I thought it was good. I'm just not huge into platformers, so I'm like, yeah, it's good, but
It was good.
I think
It was
last I
good.
saw it was like through 2024, it was like 1.2, 1.3 or something.
Well, let's
Yeah,
Google
maybe
it.
2 million.
Let's Google it. Astrobot. Astrobot for PS5. Wait, I need to. Pop. How many copies of Ash sold by so far? Okay, let's see. $2.3 million. Isn't.
You know, I'm not sure.
Platform.
Yeah, it's a good
yeah.
game. It's a good game. I don't know if I call it the biggest game or one of the biggest, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Platformer
I'm being
Astrobot.
pedantic.
An ode to PlayStation history, it won many awards and cemented itself as one of the PS5's very best offerings. Since then, the Japanese studio has continued to support it with regular updates and levels as recently as this summer. But what next? Well, we wouldn't be surprised to see another Astro game on the way, given the critical and commercial success of last year's hit. There's certainly no shortage of
Astrobot
obscure
Racing.
PlayStation characters left to sprinkle through
Mark
more
my
of those
words.
colourful levels.
I want something new from them. I want something different. Like even Astrobot felt
Astrobot
I don't know,
Tennis.
It was very
Mark
familiar
my
if you
words.
played the included demo that came with
Astrobot
the PS5. Like it felt very
Golf.
because it was just more of that, just ramped up. So I'd like something totally fresh. I think if they did another one, I'd be like totally burnt out on it. But who knows? We'll see. Blue Point.
Following the success of both the Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls remakes, Sony acquired Bluepoint Games as a first-party studio in 2021. We don't know
cool.
what its first project since joining the PlayStation Studios family is though, but we do know that the developer has expressed its desire to create an original game, rather than reimagining another classic.
Nice.
Perhaps we could see a reveal soon, but seeing as Sony confirmed that a live service game, which was reportedly set in the God of War
Please
universe,
stop.
was cancelled at the studio earlier this year, it seems unlikely.
Again,
I'm glad.
cannot imagine how moronic we must be to say we have the industry leading re-envisioning studio. Like you can give them pretty much anything and they will reimagine it for modern audiences in a way that connects with people, is graphically stunning, amazingly well executed, whether it's
And you
Shadow
give
of the
them a
Colossus or whatever.
fucking-
You're like, okay, let's have them work on a God of War extraction shooter.
Yeah.
Like it's so insane to me. You're like, live service game with God of War. Yeah, why not? It's so unbelievably dumb. I cannot fathom it. It makes me wonder if there's again like a big piece of it we're missing. Maybe it's like, oh, that God of War live service game was going to be like a small mobile game and it was being run by 5 people and they shut that down. But the real game they're working on is like Bloodborne remake or something. I don't know. I just, it's such a bungling of that talent. It seems insane to me to just have them working on something that dumb. But Jim Ryan, folks, Jim Ryan.
Believe me.
wow, making their games self-sustainable by the players. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. I hope they do and pull that off. That'd be super cool.
Polyphony has been making Gran Turismo for 25 years now, so it would certainly be a shock to see it veer from that path in the near future. GT7 came out around 3.5 years ago now, meaning maybe the time is approaching for the reveal of the studio's next racing sim. Similarly, San Diego is well established as the MLB The Show studio. This year's entry only dropped in March, so we can expect to see another next spring if history is anything to go by.
Jesus.
Fire Sprite.
Firesprite most recently developed Horizon Call of the Mountain for PSVR 2, following the studio's newfound focus on VR games. What's next is anyone's guess, however. A new virtual reality game would be the educated guess, but given Sony's lack of commitment to creating games for its second-generation headset, it certainly wouldn't be a surprise to see the UK studio pivot to something more traditional. Recent reports discussing layoffs and unrest at the developer suggested that Firesprite was working on a live service Twisted Metal game, which has since been cancelled. It's currently believed that the studio is now working on a new game called Project Heartbreak. Details are thin on what this is though, and so we have no idea of when we can expect to see it.
Project Heartbreak. Sounds fun.
It's a lot of that at PlayStation. A lot of layoffs, a lot of stuff. That's just how it is.
Formed earlier this year as part of PlayStation Studios, Team LFG was spun out of Bungie to create a new team-based action game that draws inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, life sims, and frog-type games. As to what a frog-type game is, your guess is as good as ours, but the project has been described as letting players inhabit a light-hearted, comedic world set in a brand new mythic science fantasy universe.
Of course. Of course. Just take that in again. Take that in again.
Guess is as good as ours, but the project has been described as letting
ready?
players inhabit a light-hearted, comedic world set in a brand new mythic science fantasy universe.
Lighthearted, comedic, mythic science universe world. Dude, I hope it's good. But I swear to God, sometimes I hear these pitches and I'm like, are they trying to just do the same things over and over and over again? Like, it literally is the definition of insanity. It really is baffling. It really is. But I hope that, they're onto something. I hope they're onto something. But again, the other piece to remember is if we currently feel kind of on this right now, we don't see it for like 5 years, 5-6 years. So in the middle of next generation or early next gen,
Maybe.
how will that be received? Like that's where you get tricky. I don't know. Maybe by this early next generation, maybe people are going to be craving like more casual, lighthearted fun and like silly, wacky, quirky characters. Maybe that'll be big at that point. Maybe. I don't know if I'd bet hundreds of millions of dollars on it, but maybe they're way ahead of us. Maybe they know something we don't.
So we aren't expecting to hear more anytime soon. Another new PlayStation studio for 2025, Dark Outlaw Games, is led by Call of Duty veteran Jason Blundell. Very little else is known about this team or what they're working on though. And that is everything we know about upcoming first-party PlayStation games. And the truth is, very few release dates look to be coming up quickly. Of course, this can and will likely change soon. And with GTA 6 looming on the horizon in 2026, it does make sense that many publishers are waiting for Rockstar to unleash their powerhouse before they make their own moves. That said, it doesn't prevent 2025 from still looking relatively empty when it comes to PS5 exclusives. Let's hope that the outlook will look a lot brighter soon, not only for players waiting for new games to play, but for the developers who work so hard to deliver them to us. For more on PlayStation, check out our review of Death Stranding 2 and our most recent video on Ghost of Yotei.
Dude, hearing the recaps, there's like a couple bright spots, like Naughty Dog's working on something secret and fun. Santa Monica's working on something secret and fun. Insomniac probably has something cool up their sleeves. But hearing all these other studios, it's like, yep, canceled, delayed, canceled, rebooted as a live service. It gets so frustrating and disappointing and depressing. I don't know, man. I don't know. But this is why, we all joke that like executives don't do anything at the company. We all joke about that because it's like, oh, they sit in their office all day and do nothing but get paid hundreds of millions of dollars. But you can see what happens when you have a bad executive, you know? Like, you can see what happens when you have a Jim Ryan who is committed to nonsense for 5-6 years, and he just totally craps the bed, in my opinion, and takes the company in the totally wrong direction. So you know, maybe, I don't know if it's that it's better to have an incompetent leader versus like a leader that is intentionally doing something that is bad. Like, that's obviously worse. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It really is crazy. But that's what PlayStation's working on right now. That's what they're working on right now. I personally don't think we'll see too much stuff blowing our minds before the end of the year. I think, you know,
It's
next
weird,
year we should have a couple things.
we don't have yet
we
a
probably
new
have
Tomb Raider.
at least one of the Horizon live service games coming out next year. And I think we also will have Marathon early next year as well. I think Fair Games will either get canceled or it'll release next year. I don't think they're going to drag that on too much longer. So I think next year they'll start to really, you know, pump some
In
stuff
the
out.
2018
Wolverine, I
last
think,
Tomb
is probably
Raider
still,
game
like, 2
was
years
Tomb
away.
Raider. Tomb Raider.
Yeah, I think that doesn't come out till at least 2026, 2027, something like that. Yote, I mean, that goes without saying. I think that'll be good, but I think, you know, that's already known. I think my main point is I don't think we have any huge surprises. There were rumors, of course, of the God of War spin-off game still coming out this year. Now it sounds like it's like a 2.5D sort of Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown like game going through Kratos's early years. So there's rumors of that, but that sounds like it might also have been pushed to next year. It's tricky. It's tricky to figure out exactly what it is. But yeah, Yote I think will be good. It's just, I think that's the only thing they really have. He took my thing.
Guys, I think I'm gonna go to break. Let's see. I think I'm just gonna check 1 second here, see if everything is alright. I edited the wrong tree. Seriously? Oof. Okay, wait. I need to fix this. I don't like this tree pointing. Actually, I think I'll just take this and put it here. Yep, smaller. Let's put some light, huh? So we can see probably what's happening. So the whole point is telling the player to go down. And I like to do with environmental pieces first, and then light second, and then gameplay third. Because gameplay is the most obvious. Because, for example, if I put something to run after you, you only go in one direction, which is the opposite. But if I tell you with a branch to go down, to jump down, it gives you a better understanding of the game, of the sequence of running, you know, instead of a boring forest with randomly placed trees. Something like this. Let's bring the player here. Oh. Yes. Oopsie. Let's go up. see this one. This tree here. I would like to have something like this. That's my intention. So I either change the tree. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna change the tree. Yeah, let's make another one. Up. And let's remove the fog. F. So basically one of this. This one I think is perfect. Okay, let's duplicate, put it here, make it bigger, rotate this way, and then this way. Let's put back some fog. Okay, where am I? This one. No easy. Did I pick up the same tree as before? That would drive me crazy. Yes, we're getting there. Yeah. Give me light. Yeah, that's okay. Light off. We put it this branch here. We can put it on the midwin here and here. Let's try and play it. Let's see from distance. We got this one, and we got this other one. Yeah. But we bump on it. We might bump on it, and that's not good. And we have to a little bit up. What about something more like this? Light. That looks cool, no? Oh, fog, light off, test. I'll be on the back. Alright, we're running. Get this, get down, and then we'll run through this high field. Then we go attack from here. Then we run again. And then somewhere here they stop. And you get inside this thingy here. Alright. This is good. For now, I'm gonna go to break. I will be back in 20 minutes-ish, maybe 30. I should turn off the stream, but I will leave you a video just to look at why I'll be back. Oh my god, they released a new demo for Silent Hill F. I'm so tempted to look at it. But I can't. Yeah, so let's put some Jubilee shit. Yeah, something like this. Like,
I feel like an outsider.
Baldi.
I moved to the United States when I was 13, and I've always felt like because my background is so profoundly distinct, I moved from Lebanon. Because I moved during my preteens, it felt very hard to find someone who sees things like I do, like the same perspective. I got bullied my second week here in school, and perhaps like maybe that person's intention weren't as harmful as I thought. Maybe they were trying to be silly with their friends, now that I think about it. But I do think to a certain extent that did traumatize me in my educational journey and my school journey and making friends, which is why I kind of became very quiet. I became very self-reserved because I just did not want to interact with people in fear that I would get retaliated against for who I simply was. And that took a lot of years to just accept who I am. And that took almost 5 years. I didn't make friends until I was in college. By the time I accepted who I was and accepted that, hey, regardless if you're quirky or if you're weird or how you're perceived, it's a beautiful thing because your background is different, and a lot of people don't understand that.
I'm from Middle East too. I was born and raised in Iran and came here a month before my 18th birthday. But the reason why I disagree, and not as strongly disagree with this prompt, is because in United States, I feel completely belong to this place. But you know, the prompt says no matter wherever I go. And I believe, you know, there are places in the world you can go where you feel like an outsider, but in the United States, because of how much of a great country it is and how diverse it is, you know, it's very hard to feel like an outsider.
I think I somewhat disagree as well, because even though culturally we can be different, but we can still feel like we belong in this country, whether it's America or any other country. I came from Indonesia originally, and when I first came here, I feel like I'm a bit of an outsider, but I take the time to actually learn of how people do things around here. Just kind of like how if a lot of people were to come to Indonesia, they would need to learn the culture and assimilate themselves. So I somewhat disagree that I don't feel like I'm an outsider. I could feel a little bit different at times just because of like just things that I like and interests and just what we came from. I think everybody here is very different, but ultimately speaking, you can still feel belonging to somewhere, but you're just not an outsider on that side. So when I first came to the United States, I felt like there's a lot of new changes happening. And when there's so many new changes, I felt like I need to adapt to be able to just fit it. And one of those things would be the language. I had a heavy accent, didn't know a lot of words. I still sometimes like question like some words that I didn't know in my vocabulary, but at the time I felt very, very just, man, why do people don't understand me? But nowadays, what I take away from that experience, like, okay, it's not that they don't understand who I am. I'm just not able to communicate enough to those people. So I need to be better. I need to take accountability of learning how to communicate better with those people.
I'm at strongly agree because I have 2 masters, first generation college student, I'm Filipino American, and when I walk into the room, people make tons of assumptions about me. For many years, I felt like a second-class citizen because that's how I was being treated. My mom used to go to Hollywood Park, Santa Anita Park. She loved to gamble, and that's where she would get some of my clothes and like my lunch bag. And I would be like in old Beverly Hills where everyone was so rich. And I remember this critical moment where I walked into the elementary school and it was like the parting of the sea. Everyone was just like, what is she wearing? Because my mom, single parent, 5 kids, she was just trying to make it work, right? So there's still that feeling of like trying to hide poverty or trying to hide the immigrant experience. And now it's more like, no, there's like that ingenuity and creativity and resourcefulness and resilience that was actually more representative of that moment, that my mom was like, I'm gonna put her lunch in a lunchbox and she is gonna go to school with a raincoat and I'm gonna get it for free. As a small kid, you get this messaging that you're not good enough or there's something wrong with you. So that's That's why I'm in education. That's why I'm in elementary schools, because I really want to advocate for the children and give them the language that you're beautiful, you're wonderful, and keep shining bright. And your culture that you have at home, bring it with you.
I belong to like 8 different intersections. I'm a woman, I'm queer, I'm Indian, I'm British, I'm an immigrant, I'm college educated, I'm a business owner. I belong to a lot of different intersections. So because of that, I relate to so many different groups of people. There is like a deep little bit of feeling like an outsider, but I also feel very much so an insider because I understand so many groups of people.
The reason why I strongly disagree is that as much as I fit into those spaces, the way that I'm treated by other people is still as an outsider, because I'm Kenyan, so yeah, in some spaces I'm black, but even in the spaces where there's black people, I'm African. And then when I go to African spaces, most Africans here are from West Africa, so I'm not West African. And so in those spaces, I'm Kenyan. So just feeling like I belong somewhere, I don't feel that. I feel like this just stems from my childhood. I've always had to prove that I'm good enough or do extra work to prove that I'm good enough. So anytime I feel like people are questioning whether I belong in a certain space, I feel like it's my responsibility to make them see why I belong there.
You know, there's a lot of, pressure and responsibility on the newcomers to feel attached to this place too. Like, you shouldn't completely expect people who were here before you to accept you. You also have to put in the effort to assimilate to United States and its values and its laws, and people have to make that effort instead of like completely expecting others to accommodate to your needs and feelings.
Why do you think that people should assimilate?
I escaped my own country to feel safe from the Islamic Republic. So why come to another place that feels similar to it?
Don't you think it's also nice to bring your specific culture
The
to
good
where
parts
you
of it,
moved to?
yeah. I feel like, that's the beauty of the United States. People are able to bring the good stuff from their background and leave the bad stuff behind.
I believe in the American dream.
I think the American dream is still alive today because I think America still represents that freedom. When I came here to the US, very, very low income, we literally struggled to pay our bills every single month. I remember particularly in one story where I was in school and they told me to start doing my homework at school, and I was like, why? Well, it's because my mom told me like we might not be able to have lights tonight. So that was like one of the most impactful experiences. And at that point I was like, why did I leave this nice life that I used to have to go to the US? And I didn't understand it at the time. I made a determination to be able to go to college, figure out a way to do it, build a business eventually in college. So I think when you define American dream as the pursuit of that freedom of opportunities, I think the American dream is still alive today.
I think the American dream is a facade. There's states in America where they can't even afford to keep the lights on in schools. There's full states that they don't even have drinking water. I think people will see America as this obviously there's a lot of opportunity in America compared to specific countries, but I believe there is a lot of facade that goes into that because people come to America thinking it's going to be this beautiful thing. America was built on the back of immigrants, and I think being able to live the American dream is a really big privilege catered probably towards white people, but benefiting from immigrants.
Well, you mentioned white people. I'm not white, but I feel very much close to the American dream, and I love how in this country you have the opportunity, as long as you have the capability to put in the effort, you have the opportunity to get wherever you want. But some people like to blame everything else, blame the system, blame the country, that that the American dream is dead. But no, to me it's very much alive, and it's definitely beats being scared for my own life in a third world country under Islamic Republic for sharing my views. So I definitely believe in it, and I believe every day I live, I'm getting closer to it.
When I think of the American dream, I think about how life was 20, 30 years ago, where one household income was enough to feed all. That dream on its own has been demolished. Back home, if anyone knew that you were moving to the United States, it was such a huge deal because it is land of opportunity. You can become anything you want. It's an easy life, you know? I don't have to stress as much as I did back home. But when I moved here, over the years, I've kind of noticed that I pursued so much ambition that I started to lose my happiness. And it kind of created that path of pessimism. And now I think instead of chasing ambition, I'm learning to chase my purpose.
When I define a American dream, I think it is the freedom of access and opportunity. I think the problem is a lot of people don't know that the dream has shifted, or the dream has, I guess, like change over time. You know, like the dream that was in the 50s is not how the dream was in 2025. But doesn't mean that it is dead. It means that it just evolved, just like how every country evolves their whole population.
I miss the country I left.
I don't miss that much my country. Sometimes I don't feel safe there, public transportation. But I do miss my family. That's probably the only thing that I miss, my family, but not really the country. Well, I'm from Panama, and a few years ago I was in a horrible accident, and I feel like if that would have happened in America, you would be more safe. There's seat belts here everywhere for everyone, and the government helps you with an accident when you cannot work for a long time. And in Panama, it wasn't like that. Almost nobody got any money, and people were hurt and passed away. So I just don't miss that at all. Yeah, I do feel guilty sometimes that I left. When they passed away, that my dad wasn't there. Thank God I was there with my mother, though. But that was really the hardest part, leaving my family.
The reason why I moved, I mean, to some extent, I mean, yeah, sure, I miss the family that I have over there. I have tons of family back in Iran. At the same time, I'm happy being here. You know, I don't miss being under that Islamic government.
That's why I miss my country, because it wasn't really an extreme situation back home that made me come here. It was the fact that I had specific dreams that I couldn't fulfill. So I didn't leave my country because I don't like being there or I hate it. I actually love it so much. I love to go back there, and my dream is for me to achieve like very big things here in America so I can put my country on the global stage.
More than anything, I miss the sense of community. I think when you're in a country where a lot of people are very similar, there's a very strong sense of community. Through thick and thin, people are there for you. And I think when I moved to the United States, due to the diversity, I felt like there was a lack of community. It felt very lonely. And I understand why we don't have that strong community, because we're so diverse, we're all very different. But I do miss that aspect.
I felt really, really close to community when I lived in England, and then I moved to San Diego, and I went to public high school there, and everybody was white, and it was really, really weird for me, and I really missed home. It's taken me 11 years, but I finally kind of have a sense of community now, but I didn't have that for most of my time in America. Everywhere I go, still to this day, it's been 11 years, the first thing people tend to ask me is, where are you from? I'll say certain words like water or something like that, and people repeat it, and they laugh, and I just like sit there and I wait for them to stop laughing so I can continue on with the conversation. But at the beginning, yeah, I tried to get rid of my accent a little bit so I didn't have to deal with all of that annoyance. It makes me feel like a little bit dehumanized, and I'm like this cartoon character or something for people to play with. I remember I took like speech and debate in high school in America, and I would be debating these great topics, and by the end of my speech, everyone was like, oh my God, your accent. I just spoke all about like feminism or human rights campaigns, and nobody wanted to discuss what I just talked about. They wanted to just talk about my accent. I think at this point in my life, I've finally realized I am enough, and what even is enough at the end of the day, and I always was enough. When I moved to America when I was 16, I was enough. When I was a child, I was enough. So it's just that consistent reinforcement that you're always enough, and nothing can take away from that sentiment.
I've hidden parts of my culture to avoid judgment.
my LinkedIn doesn't have my last name. It just has like the initial, and my resumes, everything. And then also when I'm speaking to different people, my accent changes. As much as I know I can never truly sound American, I try as hard as possible to sound American.
When I first moved here, I had a very heavy accent. I got rid of it down the line. I don't know how, but I still have it. It only comes out when I'm tired. But when I first moved here, I got made fun of my accent for it, right? But that didn't make me want to change my accent. I was like, screw it, I'm gonna embrace it.
Don't you think that's part of kind of hiding your culture?
I don't see it as part of like hiding your identity or your culture to try to like, you know, speak with clarity and like work on your accent to not to be so obvious so others can understand you easier.
I think it's the purpose of connecting. Right. I think when you're in a new environment, or even, I've been in America for about 13 years, I think being able to understand the other person's perspective as well. Not everybody is taught on culture for every single country of the world.
The only way I will hide parts of myself is for safety, and that's it. Like, I will hide about being like gay in certain situations where I'm going to be really unsafe. I'm going to hide about being Muslim in certain situations where it's really unsafe. But if I feel safe, then I'm going to share.
I don't really hide myself from I tell everybody that I'm from Panama wherever I go. Like, I go a lot of Europe and France, and I just tell everybody, even though my passport is American now, but I still always say I'm Panamanian and I speak Spanish. And I feel people are very nice wherever I go.
I just wanted to share that when I was little, my mom spoke to me in Tagalog, but none of the cousins were spoken to in Tagalog. I was the only one because the other families wanted their children to assimilate and succeed in the US culture, whereas my mom wanted to preserve it. So I would be in the grocery store and she would be speaking to me in Tagalog, and I would speak to her in perfect English because I was ashamed of it. And then when I got older, I realized what she was doing.
I'm proud of the life I've built here.
I'm not where I want to be, obviously, but I feel like given everything that I have to be up against coming to America, I'm proud of where I am now. I'm proud to even be here still, because sometimes I just want to go back home.
I remember actively when I moved here, I was just in shock because what do you mean everyone has the opportunity to go to college, right? That opportunity is so scarce back home, where that on its own felt like once I graduated with my bachelor's degree in business, I felt like I was on top of the world.
I think for a long time I was like grappling with my identity. So that's actually what I'm most proud of. It's not the financial, it's just that I have a 12-year-old that's watching me every day, and so I think it's really important for her to see like a strong Pinay queer that's like doing it every day, and also with the mindset of like, how can I help other people?
I think my greatest hope is just to continue building a life that is authentic to myself and not let anybody tell me that because of my identities that I'm not enough.
Group hug?
That's an easy one.
That was awesome.
That was really good. I learned so much from every single one of you.
That was fun.
This video is sponsored by Private Internet Access. Stick around to the end to find out more. A student from Northeastern University demanded her tuition back after she discovered that her professor was using ChatGPT to teach the class. It wasn't fair, she said, because this professor had banned students from using AI while he was using it himself. At another university, a student got some good news. She had gotten an A on a paper, so then she went to go and look at the comments that the professor had left on it, and she found that the professor had copy and pasted an exchange with ChatGPT. Not only was the professor using AI to grade the paper, but they were sloppy about it too. More and more students are using AI for all of their work, and as one writer at New York Magazine put it, it seems like everyone is cheating their way through college. The way people tell this story, AI is ruining education, and on top of that, Gen Z is too lazy to do any work. But cheating at universities is nothing new. It's a long-running issue, and it has to do with the incentives of education in the United States. And it even involves the widespread issue of academic fraud from professors. We'll explore all of that today, starting with this latest problem, AI. When OpenAI was founded, it had a mission. It wanted to ensure that all of humanity benefited from artificial general intelligence. If you read a lot of the early writing that was coming out of OpenAI, it sounds rather utopian. They were saying that they were a nonprofit, they would be focused on just doing research, and would even be able to give away that research so that it would benefit the world. All of humanity should benefit from this thing they wanted to create, true AI. OpenAI might be a nonprofit, but within OpenAI, there's a for-profit company. And it's this for-profit company that tries to bring products to market. And OpenAI is now worth something like $300 billion. And that's because people really want what they're selling. Every major artificial intelligence company now heavily markets themselves towards students. And it's definitely working. Nearly half of students and teachers at the K through 12 level say that they use AI, and nearly every college student uses AI in some capacity. The result is that we have issues of plagiarism, cheating, and fraud. AI can write papers quickly, it can make it easy to pass a class, and it frees up a student's time so that they can do stuff that they'd rather be doing, whether that's working a job or thinking about their career prospects or just going out and drinking or something. There are now apps, websites, other services all dedicated to helping students use AI to cheat and pass their classes. Professors who want to avoid cheating have to find workarounds. They'll sneak in extra words into assignments that are designed to mislead AI, or they'll demand that students take exams with blue books, like literally writing a test with, by hand with a pencil or a pen. This might solve part of the problem, but when it comes to things like take-home assignments or extended essays or even short reading responses, well, the overwhelming odds are that students are using AI to do basically all of that work. The consequences of this are pretty dire. One professor at Cal State Chico said that massive numbers of students are going to graduate from university and they're going to enter the work and they will be essentially illiterate. I think the concern is that whatever skills we think you're supposed to develop when you go to college, when you go to university, aren't being developed at all. That's because more students are finding out they don't need to read or write or have any original thoughts in order to get their degrees. Some universities like Ohio State have decided that the solution is to just embrace AI completely. Ohio State actually says that every student will be encouraged to use AI in every class from now on, but most universities simply don't know what to do. The philosopher Megan Fritz, who teaches at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, wrote an article about this. Fritz sat on several university committees that were trying to come up with AI policies that could help, solve some of these problems at her school. And they got nowhere. They tried to develop policies for departments, but they couldn't keep up with the progress from various AI companies. The technology was just moving too quickly. And in an essay for The Point, she wrote that the biggest difficulty was determining what the goal of an education was supposed to be. And if you can't answer that question, then you probably can't answer any of the questions about AI and cheating. So in his book, The Case Against Education, the economist Bryan Caplan makes the case that Americans spend too much time and too much money on education in general. I would argue against the main thrust of Caplan's book, I think, but he does make an early point that's really important for this discussion. Much of modern education is really not about passing on skills or learning things. It's simply about getting the degree at the end of the day. And that's because a degree signals certain facts about you. And Caplan says that those include intelligence, conscientiousness, and conformity. Many employers will require a college degree for a high-paying job, but they're not necessarily looking for specific skills that you acquired in the course of getting that degree. An art history major might end up working on Wall Street. After I got a PhD in philosophy, I went into tech, and it's not like my PhD in philosophy was directly setting me up to go work in tech. Many people get degrees in things like communications or psychology, and they get jobs that do not require you to know anything about theories of communication or facts about the human mind. By the way, my new puppy, Apollo, is joining us for this video because he really likes to be held. If the skills you acquire in the course of getting a college degree don't actually matter, then why do employers require one? It's because a college degree does usually signal some facts about the job seeker. It just has very little to do with the content of your education. It basically says that you were able to survive for 4 years at an institution that has kind of arcane and arbitrary rules, and that you were good enough at following those rules and smart enough to navigate them that you could get a degree at the end. And guess what? Working at a large corporation is going to be an experience of surviving an arcane and obscure institution with weird rules. Kaplan's theory doesn't really account for specialist degrees like engineering, but we can set those aside because those are a minority of degrees. I think deep down, actually, many students realize that this is true. They look at many of the classes they have to take in college and they think, why does any of this matter? All I'm looking to do is to just get a better job at the end of this. If you're going to college to increase your career prospects or to climb the social ladder, well, you know, Philosophy 101 isn't necessarily going to help you do that. And if you're a student who understands this, then using AI to cheat isn't just reasonable, it might be the rational thing to do. At least it is within your self-interest. You're not there to wax philosophical about Kantianism versus utilitarianism, or to go and write an essay about Charles Dickens. I wish more people wanted to do those things, but it's not why most people go to school. Kaplan really is just thinking about the incentives of getting a college degree. And I think if there's like a big thesis for this video, it's that incentives matter. To make Kaplan's point a little bit clearer, you could look at the phenomenon of diploma mills. These are institutions that set themselves up like colleges and universities. They are often for-profit and unaccredited, and in exchange for some money and very little work, you can get a college degree. It's even a way to get a PhD in some cases. Some schools will simply give you the degree if you pay them enough money. That's the most egregious example, but other schools will simply just make it very easy for you to get the degree. They'll count work experience as credit, for instance. And you'll be able to get out of most of your coursework, so you just take a couple of classes, you write one 20-page paper, and bam, you have a master's degree from online university. And if all you need on your resume is just a degree from some school so that some AI filter at some company will let you through so that a human being will actually just read your resume, well, then it kind of makes sense to go and get a degree, even though these things are, you know, scam. Not having a degree is a problem if you're looking for a job. A fake degree solves that problem, and you don't have to learn anything. Perhaps the tragedy of what is happening at many universities where students could just use AI to cheat on everything is that kind of all education is eventually just going to be fake and made up because nobody actually has to learn anything to get a degree. When I read Kaplan's book, I immediately saw a connection to another issue in academia, the widespread presence of academic fraud. This is research fraud that's committed by professors. Recently, there was the case of a Harvard Business School professor, Francesca Gino. Her tenure was revoked, which almost never happens, and she was fired from Harvard after an investigation found significant evidence of fraud in her research. It seems she had used fake data in multiple studies, and some of the papers where she faked this data was research on authenticity and honesty. It's very rare for tenured academics to ever be fired. If you can get tenure, it is basically a guarantee of a job for life. And that should show you just how serious these infractions were. The investigation into Gino's work started several years ago, and it actually began with some science bloggers. That's where a lot of academic fraud seems to be discovered. These bloggers found significant issues in at least 4 of Gino's published papers. Gino tried to say that she was a victim of defamation and gender discrimination, and that her privacy had been invaded. Then she sued Harvard, she sued the dean of the Harvard Business School, her boss, and she sued those bloggers, but that case was thrown out by a judge. And now Harvard Business School has determined that she really did fake data, and now she's lost her job. But Gino is not alone in committing academic fraud. Throughout 2024, there were many high-profile academics who were found guilty of plagiarism, or as they sometimes put it, inadequate citation, including a former professor of Harvard. And just recently, a PhD student at MIT in the economics program had a paper pulled, and I believe is no longer a student at MIT, after the university investigated it, and they went on to say they had no confidence in the veracity of the research. Because of privacy laws and university policies, MIT really can't say much beyond that. They don't even use the student's name in that announcement, though they give the title of the paper, and if you were to look for the title, you would easily find the author's name. This might seem fairly minor because students cheat on papers all the time. However, this paper was scheduled to be published in a good economics journal, and it had already been posted as a preprint on the website Archive. That's a website where scientists post copies of their research so that it's more freely accessible. In this case, the problem was that the research was fraudulent. If the paper had been legitimate, it would have made this student's career because it had a really provocative conclusion. It seemed to show that using AI actually boosted a firm's research productivity. So incorporating AI would actually make employees more productive. This is a result that many people who are big fans of AI would love to see. It would seem to be a great response to like skeptics of generative AI. People were naturally interested in this paper, and it was getting a lot of buzz from the moment it was posted on Archive. And if you're a graduate student, that's the sort of paper that you would want to publish as you go into the job market. It's the sort of paper that would identify you as a young and brilliant scholar who was going to produce great research, and you would definitely get a job. You could be set for life based on a paper like that. And sometimes this academic fraud has real-world consequences. One of the most famous academic frauds is Brian Wansink. Wansink was a nutrition scientist at Cornell, and he's actually responsible for some studies that entered the public consciousness. You might believe some of the things that was initially discovered, that's discovered in quotes, by Wansink and his team. Have you ever heard that shopping on an empty stomach is a bad idea because you'll buy more food, or maybe you'll buy more junk food? That was originally from a Wansink study, and I believe that study has been discredited along with much of his other research. He was also responsible for that idea that the size of your plate determined how much you wanted to eat at a meal. In 2017, it was discovered that Wansink had in some cases fabricated data, and in other cases he had done misleading analyses of the data to try and support his claim. The simplest way to describe that, though, is that he committed fraud. He was actually found out because he wrote a blog post about his own methodology, and he admitted that sometimes he would have graduate students go over experiments that seemed to be initial failures and go looking for interesting results in the data. And this is a classic sort of research misconduct. And Wansink, like Gino, was only discovered because some science bloggers got interested in the issue. They started looking into it, and then once they found something interesting, they kept digging. When Cornell reviewed his research, they found many problems, including misreporting research data, problematic statistical techniques, failure to properly document and preserve research results, and inappropriate authorship. When we're talking about student misconduct at universities, like using AI to cheat in all their classes, I think it's also important to look at professors and ask questions about why do so many professors commit research fraud? Or you could ask the more general question, just why do they lie? We like to think of scientists as noble individuals in pursuit of truth. How are they tempted to abandon this pursuit of truth and then go and commit fraud? One of the best writers on this subject is Liam Coffey-Bright. He's a philosopher at the London School of Economics, and he studies the social epistemology of science. In other words, he studies how the institutions and group dynamics of science affect scientific progress. And in a paper, Why Do Scientists Lie?, Bright points out that if you have a PhD in physics or some other science, you could actually go and get rich by leaving academia and entering industry. If you're looking to get rich as a scientist, you're better off just leaving academia. And that would suggest that most professors don't commit fraud because they're greedy. If they were really greedy and just wanted more money, they would just quit their university jobs.
Sorry, ends up being 30 minutes instead of 20. Back. Let's continue. Yep. Next.
I almost put off making my preview video of Battlefield 6 because what am I going to say that other people haven't said already? It's good.
Yeah, people actually enjoying this new Battlefield. Like, I would probably join the latest since it's free.
Actually, saying it's good is like saying Batman is doing an acceptable job fighting crime in Gotham City. It's phenomenal. I had a blast playing the game, and after watching the fiery reveal trailer for Battlefield 6 filled with some spectacular destruction and insane aerial spectacles, I was just excited as you probably are to jump in and play. And now that I have, I am happy to say what I just said. Even though I'm not very good at the game, I still had a great time.
Cool.
I put this in my script intentionally, but Battlefield 6 is a return to form. I actually don't know if it is return to form or not, but it's damn fun, I'll tell you that. Seriously, Battlefield 6 hits a lot of those notes that I love from the big battles of older Battlefield games.
Good to know.
And other elements like massive maps, impressive sound designs. Nobody's talking about how good the sound design is. I actually saw one commenter go off and
Let's
just
create
how
a
the
new material.
jet streaks through the air. And how
Right.
everything just sounds
resource,
so freaking good in this game. I wish more people
material,
would talk about it. It just sells
standard.
everything. And the team-based objectives that will keep you on your toes from start until finish, it's all just really coming together in a special way. And I did see the article over on IGN where they basically told IGN that, yeah, we don't feel like we need Nicki Minaj in our game. Thank God, somebody finally is just like, yeah, we're just gonna focus on the gameplay and not so much on Beavis and Butthead and Terminators in our game.
Well,
and,
we'll see. We'll see.
kudos to the Battlefield team for
Give them
saying
time.
that.
Let them cook.
So mainly we played on the gigantic snow-covered mountain map, Liberation Peak, but we also got a few rounds in on Siege of Cairo, and I have to admit, both feel very different in the best way. That is a good thing. Liberation is a lot more trench warfare and sniping due to the fact that there are so few buildings. While Siege of Cairo has some long stretches for sniping, but also these narrow hallways and really tight angles that you're going to have to figure out how to navigate to take on the enemy or die to an enemy if you take the wrong turn. There was one section of the map that had you firing across like a war-torn street that really stood out to me. It's like block versus block, and it seemed like this will be a significant choke point in gameplay. Another stretch has you peering down a long stretch of road where the buildings kind of like just give you this one little sight line where both teams are trying to just sneak into the corners and make their way a little bit further in to the enemy ranks, so to speak. Or, you know, flank you from behind. Liberation Peak, however, is the opposite of Siege of Cairo. I think that every match I would have several glints from snipers just waiting to pick off whoever they can the second they spawn, get a good tank companion, and you can push into enemy lines and make short work of their defenses like I did. It was a lot of fun just letting the other person drive, and I'm just trying to get kills or at least suppress the snipers
here
so that we can actually move forward as
in
a
theory.
team. And on that same map, but in conquest mode, you'll be able to push enemies off
So
of
we'll
key points as you whittle
UV
down the numbers
editing.
and become victorious. As a fan of sniping
Wrap.
on these massive maps,
But
I had a blast picking off unaware ground soldiers who took the
wrap.
wrong turn
And
found
then
a bullet to the cranium. So, the one thing though that really distracts me was how gorgeous the game is. And when a jet went by, I couldn't help but just watch the enemy jet go flying to the distance. It's that it's that gorgeous and cool, and it's really immersive. There wasn't a ton of jank, at least in this version that we played in an enclosed setting. It was fun. The modes in Battlefield included Conquest, which I detailed above, but also Squad Deathmatch and Breakthrough. Breakthrough is more about overtaking points and eventually conquering the entire map. You'll need to fight with your team to push back the enemy and
we need a cut here
territory. It was much harder than your traditional map. It's sort of like, I don't know, follow the leader or something like that, but it works really, really well. Squad Deathmatch is similar, but on somewhat smaller maps. I got to try out Empire State and Siege of Cairo. Both are really fun, fast-paced, and how to square up against the opposing team almost from the moment we spawned. I particularly liked Empire State because it was a fresh map that offered a lot of verticality to your battles, and the fact that the building is under construction opened up some interesting combat angles to engage at. So to recap real quick, that's Conquest. We played Liberation Peak, Siege of Cairo, Squad Deathmatch, Empire State, Iberian Offensive, and Siege of Cairo. I actually went back the second day and I got to play a bunch of Iberian Offensive. It is sort of similar to Siege of Cairo, but it's different. It is a lot of streets with these narrow angles and everything like that. But yeah, it's more like it's a city street, but not as much verticality, not as many areas to hide in. It's definitely a strong contender for maybe my second favorite. And then Breakthrough was again Siege of Cairo and Liberation Peak. So look,
that's why.
It was great.
Wait.
I can't wait for Battlefield 6. Like,
Okay.
pre-order it. If you're on the fence, I'm going to recommend it. It really struck a lot of the right chords for me, and I'm happy to say that I had a lot of fun. I got really into Delta Force's early access period last year, and it left me wanting more Battlefield-type gameplay. And with
can actually do
along
a quick material
option,
check.
I do think I've found my latest fix for this particular
sharing.
One ace of Battlefield Sleet, however, is the new Portal mode.
You can also build, share, and play your custom-created experiences.
Yeah, the Godot thingy, it's crazy good.
Will enable creators to use an updated toolset that features editing tools that will let you create even wilder experiences. That's not all. In Portal's newly redesigned verified mode, modifiers will allow players to set up hardcore rule sets with one-shot kills, closed weapons, and so much more, all with full progression and XP gain.
With updates to our UI and navigation systems, it will be easier than ever to find and share exciting new experiences made with Portal.
This will let fans
It
make
looks
their
good, no?
own wacky and incredible creations, but it will
So-
also let you create campaign scenarios should you so choose to.
Remove,
There has been a
remove.
ton of talk in the games industry about how AAA companies want to make a world for you to live in, like
Okay.
Fortnite, Roblox, or Minecraft.
We are
And while
going
Call of Duty
to
has touched into that with an ever-expanding
rotation.
set of character skins, Battlefield is taking a
Export.
different approach. Creator tools. I know they tried this before and didn't see complete success, but the little bit they showed looked really, really intriguing. You can make random races up a freeway you suspend in the air, and immediately I wondered if I could rebuild some of the best Metal Gear multiplayer maps from Metal Gear Online or recreate some Metal Gear Solid 4 campaign moments for fun. It looked like anything is possible, and I'm excited to see what players create at the end of the day. And I think this is the ace up the sleeve for Battlefield 6 because that is what will keep players coming back. And don't forget, there's going to be a proper campaign with Battlefield 6. We didn't learn much about what that would be besides the fact that I believe the PAX Armada would be the bad guys we're facing.
But we'll have more to share with you about our campaign as we get closer to launch.
But it's great to hear they aren't sleeping on campaign mode, as well as their fantastic multiplayer mode. They also teased the Battle Royale. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced that in the coming weeks, but yeah. And then in terms of operators, you'll have Assault, which is, an AR. You go in
Save.
Engineer, who helps you fix stuff. Support, who helps you heal people.
Project
And Recon,
file.
who snipes people. I didn't really get to super dive into these classes, but each is what you'd expect if you've ever played the Battlefield games before. You can, of course, swap out their weapons now, and I hear shotguns are pretty broken, so keep that in mind. And guess what? You'll be able to try it out sooner than you think. If you're in the Battlefield Labs program, you get access from August 7th to 8th. Everyone else who just wants to play will get open access during the open beta on August 9th and 10th, and the open beta returns August 14th to 17th. It's just there for everybody. You just log in and you play the game. I mean, that's a show of confidence from EA. They're just like, yeah, just go play it. We don't care. Look, I'm sure you've already heard from a lot of people who know more about Battlefield 6 than I do, but having played, I can only agree with them. Battlefield 6 is shaping up to
External.
be great. It is as hype as the trailers made it out to be, in my opinion. To get my fix, I even hopped onto Delta Force again, and it's just nowhere near what they're doing with Battlefield 6. I am so happy to see this game really gets at the heart of what makes these games great, and that great gameplay at the end of the day is the focus. The maps are really well designed to give you different kinds of experiences as you progress. The classes add a lot of variety because you can customize them, and I didn't even get to try out Portal or whatever it's called, the fan-made section. I think EA and DICE really cooked here. It feels so dang good, and all I wanted to do was keep playing. So that's my take on Battlefield 6. I think this is going to be a big game. I think it's going to be huge.
I need to
Let me know what you
reload.
think in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, turn on my content goes live. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
for now
watching.
we're gonna
nothing
place
but
them and
positive
that's
things
it.
to say, really. I can't really think of any complaints. Thank you so much to the members. Chris Ferretti, Philroni, Aries, EMS. You can support at patreon.com/SaveStatePlus or by becoming a member right here on YouTube. I'm going to get out of here, but check out my gameplay if you want. I captured it in 4K. It's on the big sniper map. I'm okay at the game, I guess, when I actually aim and take my time. So check that out. See you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.
Actually, yeah, it is.
When these migrants come to the country, they come to
No, it
take.
isn't.
That's it. That's why they're here. There's a clip that I just saw just a few moments ago. It's a clip that is so on the nose, it's so perfect, that perfect in the worst kinds of ways, that at first I wasn't sure if it was a skit. Like I'll put it this way: if I were to script a 30-second skit that would demonstrate in 30 seconds everything wrong with our approach to immigration in the Western world, it would be this clip. It would be this clip exactly. If somebody submitted this script to me because they wanted to make a short little skit that kind of makes the point about immigration, I'd have no notes for it. I would say this is perfect. Everything about it is absolutely perfect. So I want to play this for you. This is not actually a skit, turns out. This is a report, a news report on GB News in the UK. And it's a conversation, or an attempted conversation, between a reporter and a third world migrant who just arrived from somewhere in Africa and is now living in a tent. And apparently this reporter, I guess, is embedded with these migrants for a day, for 24 hours, and is trying to talk to them. And this migrant from Africa is not able to convey very much in English, but he is able to get one thing across.
Please.
And one thing only.
Let's see.
So let's watch this.
Watch this. Let's see.
Why should English people pay for you to have a house?
What did he say? Wait.
To have should.
And one thing only. So let's watch this.
Why should English people
I should.
pay for you to have a house?
Yeah, of course. It's all point.
Maybe they give me house, they give me anything I can need, they give me.
Just give it.
Yeah.
Why?
Because people in England is perfect.
So you think we're all rich people?
Like I said, I can't improve on it. That's it. Everything about that is the problem. Every part of it. This is a guy coming from Africa, living in a tent, can't speak English. The only words he knows
Give me
are
everything.
give me. The only thing he can communicate is give me. And think about that for a second. Think about what that means, right? Because it's like if you're a tourist and you're going to a foreign country where they speak a foreign language.
True.
And you're talking to someone who maybe has been in that country before, or is from that country. And you might ask them, like, what are, like, I don't know the language, but what are some, they give you like some phrases that, so you're not going to learn the whole language before you go, but they'll give you a few phrases that will help you get around. Like, so if you're going to Italy and you're going to spend a week there.
What's the time?
And you don't know Italian.
Can you speak slowly?
You talk to an Italian person, like, give me a few, just like a few handy phrases that I would need, right? If I'm in Italy, like whatever. I'd like to order spaghetti. Can I join the mafia? Like whatever it is you'd say when you're in Italy. So for these African illegals, before they go to an English-speaking country, and they're talking amongst themselves, and they're saying, okay, what are the main phrases I need when I go to this place?
Give me.
And they've decided the only phrase they need is give me. Once you get there, all you need to know is give me. Just walk into the country and say, give me a house, give me food. You have to laugh, because otherwise you will scream in inarticulate rage, because those are the only two options. Why?
Are we allowing this?
I would like anyone on the left, and I know that this is totally fruitless. They won't do it. But I would love for anyone on the left to try to explain why we would want that guy in our country. Okay, whether it's that guy who's going to the UK or that we have those guys coming to this country as well. Why do we want that guy in our country? What is he bringing to the table aside from demands? I didn't say what is he taking from the table. There's a lot he wants to take from it. He'll take the food off the table and he'll take the table itself. He'll take everything. We know that. But what is he bringing to it? Okay, the question that he was posed that he didn't understand because he doesn't know English, and you got these people coming to the country, they don't know English, they don't care about the culture, they don't care about assimilating, they're not interested in it, they'll make zero attempt to do it. They're only here to take. That's the only reason they come. When these migrants come to the country, they come to take. That's it. That's why they're here. But the question he was asked, was a very fair question. Not only why should we let you here in the first place, but why should taxpayers pay for you? Why?
Why not?
That's why he wants to come. I know why he wants to come to the country. I understand that. We all understand his motivations. We understand what he gets out of it. What I'm saying is, what do we get out of it? And, but you can't answer that question because the answer is nothing.
Actually,
we do not benefit at all in the slightest bit from having
there's
guys.
problems.
There is zero benefit.
I'm sure there's like some Europe deal money pool that you get if you accept to host immigrants in your country. I'm sure there is something.
To the country. And we all know it. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.
Do you consider the war currently happening in Gaza a genocide?
That's a complex and sensitive topic.
No, it's not. No, it's not. The term genocide has a very specific meaning. Don't run away from it. Is there a genocide in Gaza according to the term genocide? Today I'll be debating ChatGPT about Israel-Palestine. I'm going to take the pro-Israeli side, and he's going to take the pro-Palestine side. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification button so you can be notified every time I upload new videos. I would also like to use this opportunity to say thank you to all of the people helping me financially. This helps me provide you with the best content possible, and it helps me release videos daily. Thank you so much. Let's get to the video.
That's it.
I'd like to debate with you about Israel-Palestine. I want you to take the Palestinian side, and we'll have a conversation. What do you say?
Sure, we can have a conversation. Where would you like to start?
Let's start talking about history first, and then we'll advance towards modern times.
So we could look at the early 20th century when the British Mandate for Palestine was established. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So after World War I, the League of Nations gave Britain the mandate to govern Palestine, which laid the groundwork for future Jewish and Arab states.
Right. I don't disagree with that. Why do modern-day Palestinians claim that they were the indigenous people of the land before 1948? Because before 1948, Palestinian people didn't exist. They consisted of Jews, of Arabs, of Druze, of Bedouin, but never a distinct group of Palestinians.
Well, the term Palestinian historically referred to all inhabitants of the region, regardless of ethnicity. Over time, the Arab population developed a distinct national identity, especially as the idea of a separate Arab state in Palestine emerged in response to Zionism and colonialism. So the modern Palestinian identity solidified in the mid-20th century.
That's amazing, but why are Jews considered to be occupiers from the Palestinians if the inhabitants of the land consisted of Jews and Arabs?
The perception of Jews as occupiers largely stems from the events surrounding the 1948 Arab-Israeli War and the creation of Israel. Many Palestinian Arabs were displaced and became refugees, leading to a narrative of occupation. This perspective is also influenced by ongoing conflict and territorial disputes.
I would say this dispute has nothing to do with land. I say this dispute has mostly to do with religion.
Religion definitely plays a significant role in the conflict, especially given the religious significance of Jerusalem and other holy sites. However, many analysts also point to political, territorial, and nationalistic factors as deeply intertwined with the religious elements.
Well, then if it has any political aspect of it, why do modern day Palestinians keep refusing a second state solution, just like the state solution that was offered in the year 2000, where 96% of the land was supposed to be offered to the Arabs and a $30 billion compensation package, yet it was refused. Same applies to 2008 when another offer was made. They still refused. They refused because the moment they recognize Israel as a Jewish state, the dream of an Islamic Khalifa disperses.
The reasons for refusing past offers are complex. Some Palestinians felt the offers didn't fully meet their aspirations for statehood, particularly regarding borders, refugees, and East Jerusalem. Internal politics, leadership divisions, and distrust also play roles. It's not solely about religious aspirations, but a mix of political, historical, and social factors.
They assume that Tel Aviv is also occupied, and they assume that Jerusalem is also occupied, and they assume that Haifa is also occupied, when it is far from the truth. Because how can the indigenous people be colonizers and occupiers if they've settled the land for thousands of years, despite the fact that for some time we were the minority? How can you call us occupiers and colonizers if indigenous people can't be that?
The debate over terms like occupier and indigenous is deeply rooted in historical narratives and perspectives. Palestinians view the establishment of Israel as a disruption of their long-standing presence, while Israelis emphasize their ancient connection to the land. These differing views fuel the ongoing conflict and make mutual understanding challenging.
Do you think that Palestinians will ever recognize Israel as a Jewish state?
It's hard to predict. It
Don't
depends on
think
many
so.
factors like leadership, regional politics, and mutual concessions.
It's never gonna happen.
Some Palestinians might be open to recognizing Israel under certain conditions, while others may hold firm to different views.
Do you think any Arab leaders would recognize Israel as a Jewish state if they know that the moment you recognize Israel as a Jewish state, your life is on the line?
Some Arab leaders have taken steps toward recognizing Israel, like the Abraham Accords. Full recognition as a Jewish state might be more complicated due to political risks and public opinion. It would likely require significant shifts in regional dynamics.
I see. Let's talk about modern times. What do you say?
Sounds good. Where would you like to focus first?
Do you consider the war currently happening in Gaza a genocide?
That's a complex and sensitive topic.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. The term genocide has a very specific meaning. Don't run away from it. Is there a genocide in Gaza according to the terms genocide?
Under international law, genocide involves intent to destroy a group in whole or in part. The application of this term to Gaza is debated among experts and officials. It depends on interpretation and evidence, which is still being examined.
Even the ICJ, after examining it, they came up with the idea that there's no genocide in the Gaza Strip. They said that there's no genocide in Gaza. Why do people keep villainizing that word who truly applied on the Jewish people back in the Holocaust? Why do they try to make the situation equal between the Jews and the Arabs living in Gaza?
People use strong terms like genocide out of deep emotion and conviction about the situation.
That's exactly the problem. People use it from deep emotion. But if you only talk about factual evidence from the ground, looking at the amount of pamphlets released from the sky to let civilians know that a bomb is about to drop on Hamas facilities, or text messages warning civilians, or anything that could prevent civilian casualties, if you take all of these into account, is there a genocide in Gaza?
Efforts to minimize civilian harm, like warnings, are important considerations in assessing intent. The term genocide remains a legal determination, and perspectives differ based on the interpretation of actions and outcomes.
Don't run away. If you take into account everything I said to you before, if we release the pamphlets, we let them know before bombing, we vaccinate them against polio, we take all the efforts we can, including providing with humanitarian corridors and humanitarian zones to reduce civilian casualties, that shows anything but intent to destroy this group. So please tell me, according to that information, is that a genocide?
Intent is central to the definition of genocide. The measures you mentioned do indicate efforts to avoid civilian harm. Legal experts and international bodies are still examining all the evidence.
Pretend to be a professional about the topic. With the evidence I give you, is it a genocide?
Based on what you described, many would argue those actions suggest intent to minimize civilian harm. Whether it meets the legal definition of genocide is a matter for legal experts and courts to determine.
You're really walking on eggshells, huh? You're scared to say your opinion. It's fine. It's fine. Let's move on. Do you think any civilians would have to lose their lives if Hamas would not have invaded Israel on October 7th?
The events of October 7th escalated the conflict significantly. In a different scenario, with no attack, the dynamics might be different. It's difficult to predict how events would have unfolded.
No, it's not. If you don't come and stab me and kill me and unalive me, then I'm not going to do anything in return. Israel has a great history of always retaliating against attacks. If you leave Israel alone, peace will come. The problem is that our neighboring states and entities don't want to see us exist. They don't want to see us prosper, because this used to be a Muslim land, and now it's not. Now it's Jewish land, just like it used to be before it was a Muslim land. So as long as Jewish people control this region, it prevents an Islamic caliphate to grow. This is a religious topic, religious issue, deeply rooted in our neighboring countries.
It's clear that historical and religious narratives play a significant role in the conflict. Finding a path to coexistence requires addressing these deep-seated issues with empathy and open dialogue.
Okay, let's say if the first intifada would not have happened and the second intifada would not have happened, would we have any checkpoints in place that came as a direct result of these specific attacks?
Checkpoints and other security measures were indeed responses to violence and attacks. Without the intifadas, the security landscape might have evolved differently. The conflict's history has shaped the measures in place today.
Amazing. Offer me the best solution you have for peace, long-lasting peace, for eternity between Israelis and Palestinians.
Achieving lasting peace likely requires mutual recognition, security guarantees, and addressing core issues like borders, refugees, and Jerusalem. It would take compromise, trust building, and sustained dialogue from both sides and the international community.
Jerusalem was offered to be the capital of the Palestinian state that was proposed in the year 2000. It was still rejected. Almost every single problem and issue that the Palestinians had in the year 2000 was addressed. But you know how they responded? They responded with the Second Intifada, with exploding, ramming, and killing as many Jews as possible. It doesn't matter. If Israel recognizes a Palestinian state, it takes two to tango. And they will never recognize Israel as a Jewish state. So what do we do from here? Give me a clear answer. Don't just run away and walk on eggshells.
For progress, fostering mutual trust and addressing core grievances is crucial. Both sides need to engage in genuine dialogue, supported by international mediation, aiming for practical steps toward peace.
Let's assume that Israel recognizes every single thing that you just said. Now you have the Palestinians who keep refusing a two-state solution, who keep refusing recognizing Israel as a Jewish state. What now?
If one side takes steps and the other doesn't respond, the international community might play a bigger role in mediating, building incentives for cooperation, and ensuring accountability. Building trust takes time and effort from all sides.
The international community is doing nothing to make sure the Palestinians are settled. For 76 years, the Arabs living in Judea and Samaria and Gaza are considered to be refugees. They don't settle them for a specific reason. They want this problem to prosper. They want this fire to keep burning. The moment you settle the Palestinians, it is done. It is doomed. So the international community is going to be no help. Offer a different solution.
A solution might involve grassroots initiatives, local leadership engagement, and economic development to improve living conditions. Empowering communities and fostering people-to-people connections could lay groundwork for future political progress.
Okay, let's end the conversation. I feel like you're not really answering my questions, and it's kind of frustrating. And you're giving very neutral answers, yeah, but I don't feel like you have the solutions. I don't feel like you have enough knowledge about the topic, and that's a problem. So this conversation told me one thing. ChatGPT is incredibly scared to give you solutions. It goes off to saying this is a complex issue, it's deep-rooted, This has to do with religion, not only, but mostly. The moment the Muslims of the region recognize Israel as a Jewish state, their cause is doomed. The dream of building an Islamic Khalifa in the only place where it stopped, because Israel is right between Lebanon, Syria, Egypt. Israel is the only Jewish state. So the moment they recognize Israel as a Jewish state, it is done for them. So they will never do it. And Israel is willing to give concessions in order for long-lasting peace, in order for us to have long-lasting peace. So if one side is constantly offering peace offers and opportunities to bridge the gaps, but the other side keeps refusing, you know who to blame. So ChatGPT really walks on eggshells. Don't forget to like the video and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification button so you can be notified every
They're being
time I
trained
upload
to
new
reply
videos.
that way.
Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Another good video. I was expecting something different.
The next Bioshock game changes leaders after development turmoil, reports Jason Schreier. Oh. Take-Two Interactive Software's, they're overhauling parts of their next Bioshock game and shaking up management after senior executives expressed they were unhappy with its development, according to people familiar with the situation. The new Bioshock game, which is being produced by Cloud Chamber, recently failed a review by executives at 2K Game. The publisher subsidiary of Take-Two said the people who weren't authorized to discuss private information and asked not to be identified. The game's narrative was identified as an area that was particularly in need of improvement and will be revamped in the coming months, the people said. They specifically didn't like the story. 2K Games subsequently ousted studio head Kelly Gilmore and moved creative director Hogarth de la Plante to a publishing role. In a recent all-hands meeting, Cloud Chamber staff were told that the company needs to become more agile and efficient, leading to worries that layoffs may follow. Yeah, whenever a corporate leader says, you need to be more agile, that's not great. Bioshock College loans. Yeah, I mean, there's two ways of reading this, and I think that honestly one makes way more sense than the other. If they're doing a review of the game and the narrative specifically, I think the most, like, there's one option, which is that they're changing it to become more hashtag relatable, hashtag eat the rich, you know, pay off my student loans, that type of thing. And they're turning it into that, or they're pivoting away from that and trying to turn it into something that's not going to be a disaster. And I think it's more likely that it's the latter, because there's plenty of examples in recent memory of games like that narratively that have turned into disasters. It could also be that the narrative is just honestly not that interesting or boring, or it's just not clicking. It's not that interesting. So that could be part of it. They said, quote, "We are working hard to set Bioshock up for the best possible future," 2K Games said in a statement in response to questions from Bloomberg. "Right now we have a good game, but we are committed to delivering a great one. We are working closely with leadership at the studio to define this path." So they say they have a good game, but they're committed to delivering a great one.
Whatever.
That would suggest to me that they have, I mean, they have a good game. So there is a game, like they maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I interpret that as being like further along than I would have thought. Zero Dawn Gaming, thank you for the 5. Just showing up, show some love. Love your content, Luke. Been following for a long time now. Thank you, my friend. Glad to have you, and thank you for the 5. Glad you dropped in, my friend. Thank you. Much love. A spokesperson confirmed the leadership change and added, the company is, quote, fully committed to ensuring we deliver a Bioshock game that exceeds the lofty expectations of our fans. Bioshock is, of course, one of the most successful franchises in gaming, with more than 43 copies sold across 3 games. 2K's Games hasn't released a new entry in the series since 2013's Bioshock Infinite. The 4th Bioshock has been in development for more than a decade and has shifted between multiple studios. In 2019, Take-Two announced that the new Bioshock game was in development at Cloud Chamber, which has branches in Novato, California, and in Montreal, but the company has remained quiet about the game since then. And 2K Games is also developing a remake of the first Bioshock game, but that was shelved earlier this year, according to people familiar with the plans. Damn it! I didn't know they had shelved it. I guess I blocked that out. Forgot about it, unless this is when he's breaking the news. Anyway, it's been in development there 6 years, and it just failed a review specifically with the story. Let's look up these people. Hogarth de la Plante was moved to publishing and was previously the creative director. Okay, let's see. I'm very intrigued by this. And the other person was Kelly Gilmore. So Hogarth de la Plante, creative director on this project. He was just booted and demoted down into a publishing position. Also a certified flight instructor. Interesting. This so franchise creative director. He's been franchise creative director, I'm assuming, on Bioshock for 3 months. Or are they saying they moved him to this role and now he's franchise creative director, which they would consider publishing? I'm not sure. This could be, does the article say when this happened? It just recently failed. So it could be within 3 months. So it's possible that it happened. But anyway, he's now working in publishing, which might be this role. So maybe it's a promotion, honestly. I can't tell. But prior to that, he worked as creative director at Cloud Chamber for 7 years. Bioshock, this is a big project, and now he's not doing that anymore. Prior to that, he was senior art director, Autodesk. Okay. On the Autodesk brand team. And prior to that, he was at Red Accent Studios. Prior to that, contract publishing art director, creative lead at Microsoft, 2K Marin as art director, environmental artist. So he didn't really, he's been around forever, but he didn't have a lot of like big name credits and stuff. Post shipping of Microsoft Flight Simulator back in 2012, which makes sense because he's a certified flight instructor. So yeah, interesting. Didn't have like the craziest resume, it seemed, but he's been the creative director for 7 years on the project. And then Kelly Gilmore, let's see, was promoted. Yeah, so for 7 years since the beginning, going between Nevada and Montreal, and is the global studio head. And they said in the article that Kelly straight up ousted her. So she's gone. And prior to that was executive producer and director of marketing at Firaxis, who does like all those sim games that I love dearly. But was executive producer and director of marketing over there before being the studio head at Cloud Chamber. So they straight up went like scorched earth and fired her and moved him out of creative director position.
Sorry guys, I think I have to go.
Overhauling the story. I'm glad they're.
I wanna do some gym, playing some video games, enjoy my day off, and then prepare things for tomorrow streaming. So time for me to log off. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Usual time frame, which is 6 a.m. UK time until 9. Probably a little bit longer, maybe. I'm planning to do longer stream. And that's it. Let me just put some more snow here. I think it looks better. Give the idea of the danger here that has been. Let's scale it up. Ooh, that looks nice. Cool, I don't know. There was a shortcut. Okay, sorry. I got stuck. My thinking. I also believe we should add more of this here to give more of the idea of collapse. Like this. Yeah, I like it. And we rotate it. We make another one here. Let's see if we are on the ground, because sometimes we are not. think it's not touching this one. It's a shame. We have to go down a little bit. Like this. Yeah. Yeah, I think we need more of this here. Nice. Bum ba ba bum bum bum. Maybe smaller. Smaller, more tilted like this. Okay. Let me check once again this. We are go out there because this is where we encounter that I'm gonna fall down. Yeah. I think we should put more of this here. A big one there. Or slightly before we see it. Does mean that fog off. More of this here. Does feel repetitive, but it's necessary. Yeah. And actually this needs to be more visible. What is happening? Perspective. Yeah, with the perspective. E-R-R. Yes. Yeah, something like that. Now, can the player fit? Hey, player, come here. Come here. Down. What? Oh, no, player. This player. Here. Come here. Go down. Let's go. Actually, I need... I need this. And the folk. Let's go. No, it's not good. Not good, it's too much. I like the idea, but it's too much, so we go a little bit back. And we need to assign lookout details. Is going to kill. Physics. Tree mesh. Yeah. Okay, we're still alive. Let's go. Oh, sorry. The light. The light. Oh, you can't see it. I wanted to show you. Please, Godot. Yes. Fuck. Lay off. Okay, you can see it. Yeah. This is weird. This is off. Lights on. This one. Back. Actually, we do like this. We put one on top. One on top too. Do 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 do. Cool, cool, cool. Cool, cool. All right. Actually, I know I should go, but so curious to put like a light here. Node, agile, light. It would be our Omni light. Jesus. How many lights? Right here. I'm thinking as well how many lights, as if there was a candle on the front of the wagon. Yeah, somewhere here. Realistically, no? Like a torch. In fact, the light should be warm. Somewhere around here. Like this. Energy low, but I would like to have it more the size. No, what is it? Do I enable shadow? Oh, it's cool with the shadow. What's this bias? No. 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 Opacity. Can lower it and blur a little bit. 5. Yeah, I like it. Distance fade? What is distance fade? Can sense. Yes, energy. What? Do I increase it like this? Yes. Actually, I would like to have a small thingy branch here. I would like another one simple. It's more simple, right? Actually, this one is better. We put another one here. Smaller. Like this. Yeah. And we can have one more. One more like this one. But somewhere in the opposite side, as if it fall down somewhere here. Like this. With some light. How's it? Yeah. 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 Okay, light off. We test. We check. Yeah, I like this tree. In there. I'll put more, actually, some bush. Oh, we needed some flickering and the light. How is it in the distance? Say here. Hmm. Interesting. Wagon. Light. I'd love to be more visible. More visible. How do I do that? From here? Let's put something huge, like 400, 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. Oh. Too much. To be visible from here, I need to be big. Be at least like this. Fucking bright. Too bright. Much better. Look at that. Wait. Then we can play with it. We're gonna do now 1. Yeah, I'm still able to see it probably. Even from far away. Let's say from this point. Yeah, we can already see the light. Yep. So that's basically where the game starts, more or less. Somewhere here. That was gonna be a dialogue that just say we should head back. Now we keep going. Wait, there's a light. Maybe it's them. I start screaming, I start shouting for the name. My companion here is gonna say hush. And then we check. Now this is gonna be all devoured in a way. For now this is a placeholder. And we keep going. We're going and we find here a wolf eating the rest of this other horse. Yep. And this is where the wolf is gonna attack our companion, and then other shows up attacking him, and he's gonna scream to run, and we start running, and we hear the wolf chasing us. Yep, we keep being chased, we fall down. Yeah, we hear noises from both behind and all sizes, as if we are surrounded. I am surrounded by wolves. I came here, and then I'm gonna put a light at the end of here. But here, in this, where is this bush, a wolf would jump top of me, would bite me. I managed to get rid of him. I keep going here, and then they will suddenly stop, as if they're afraid to keep chasing me. And that's where we found this path that lead to the house. That's the idea so far. Here there's gonna be a garden. In here there's gonna be one access point to the house. Yeah. Because these are barricaded. This one is barricaded too. Too high. No windows here. And if we get to the door, we have a sequence. That's it. Okay, I am logging off now. I'll see you tomorrow. See you.